spot. Fatally struck, the spear pierces the zombie's chest, destroying the poor little monster's empty shell. On the system panel, the count of living minions plummets from 20 to 18 in the blink of an eye. Outnumbered, the undead struggle to hold back the coordinated attack of the new aquatic threat. Coldly analyzing the scene, the kid concludes that these frogmen have far superior stats to the goblins. Straight to the point, the kid activates potion control, firing a jet of dark magic at the creatures. Hit square in the face by the cursed energy, one of the monsters freezes, feeling the staff's overwhelming power. Soon after, a shower of macabre oil drenches the enemies, drastically reducing their physical defense. With clenched teeth, the hero concentrates his aura to end the fight quickly. Going in for a direct brawl, the MC punches the nearest frogman, caving its face in on impact. Next, the bone staff shatters another monster's skull with piercing damage, buffed by the spiritual spell. Completely unscathed, the kid lands smoothly on the grass, observing the pools of blood splattered on the
Something
ground.
you wish to
Without
report?
losing momentum, he extends
Oh,
his hand,
you
using
have my
bone control to
undivided
pull over the slain
attention.
carcasses. Focused on efficiency, the hero notes that maintaining the horde with goblin minions is already consuming too much mana for no reason. On the screen, the Raise Undead option glows brightly, sucking up 35% of his remaining spiritual power. Despite the high cost, the kid smiles devilishly, certain he can handle it without any problems. Under the master's orders, the frogmen corpses contort and rise, their eyes glowing green. Immediately after the resurrection, a notification pops up confirming the protagonist has leveled up. Excited by his accelerated progress, he calculates that he
No,
has
my
used
sword!
replacement
Ring
to
cutter!
get a full progression.
Receive my blessing. Get to work!
Subsequently, the scene cuts up to ancient stone ruins.
This is where
The
you'll
Elder
fall.
Dragon destroys the shelter. The zombie army follows the kid as he carefully investigates the area. With his hand stained with black blood, he firmly holds the pulsating heart of the recently slain frog chief. Curious about the ritual, the miniature god of time floats by, asking what the master plans to do now. Highly focused, the kid asks for silence and begins to drip blood from the goblin shaman right onto the heart. At that moment, the unholy combination makes the bizarre organ emit green smoke.
Laid bare.
With a flash moment, the hero watches the macabre chemical reaction light up the ancient ruins. Immediately, the green light reveals a secret passage in the ground that had remained hidden for years. On the panel, the system congratulates the player on discovering the hidden area and triggers the dimensional transfer. In a flash of light, the scenery changes from the flowery woods to a gigantic forest. Gladiator stops. Cautiously, the kid takes his first step onto the sandy floor of the immense circular arena. Observing the empty stands, the MC comments that for the regression, his low-level wounds had even let him get close to this place. Suddenly, a colossal gust of wind sweeps through the middle of the arena, forcing the hero and his zombies to retreat. From the sandstorm, a gigantic scaly paw steps firmly on the ground, making the earth tremble. Facing the beast head-on, the kid prepares himself as the smoke slowly begins to clear. Ironically, the system announces the start of the trial, telling the hero to prove his worth to survive. Before him, the imposing figure of a giant draconian flexes its ripped muscles and exudes a murderous aura. Originally, the gods created this insane test only to select the absolute elite among human hunters. Because of this brutal requirement, the entire dragon army sent its strongest soldiers to the Colosseum. Relentlessly, the panel decrees a limit of only 10 minutes of survival against the beast to guarantee any reward. In complete disbelief, the Titan god mocks the protagonist, warning that a level 6 newbie won't last even 10 seconds. Confident as always, the kid laughs off the taunt and assures the old man that it'll be the Draconian who won't last the round. Despite his strategic advantage, the MC knows very well that the enemy's strength was balanced for level 1, but it's still a nightmare. Furious, the dragon monster cracks its claws on the sandy ground, ready to begin the massacre in the arena. In an unexpected reflex, the kid raises his hand, shouting for the beast to wait a minute before starting the fight. Confused, the
This
Draconian
realm is
freezes
truly
mid-charge with
beginning-
comical sweat drops running down its enormous head. Shamelessly, the hero uses the classic anime excuse that the villain has to wait for the hero's transformation sequence before attacking. Taking advantage of the distraction, the kid focuses his magic on the frogman lackeys, forcing a bizarre mutation. On the system, a message
If you
confirms
ever
that
have
the
any
poison from the
questions-
goblin's husk has fused with the zombies, creating the plague zombie class. Impressed, the Titan praises the kid's ability to modify living minions in the middle of a fight without preparation. With his new infected army ready for battle, the necromancer opens his arms, calling the dragon to the fight. Boiling with rage for being tricked, the monster fixes its blue eyes on the insolent human. In a burst of brute force, the beast deforms the arena floor, leaping directly at the zombie army. Tearing through the wind, the attack's speed is so absurd that the dust can barely keep up with its movement. Protecting their master, the poison frogs jump towards the giant, trying to block its advance. In a deadly embrace, the plague zombies cling to the Draconian's body, injecting toxins into the creature's thick skin. Caught completely by surprise, the big monster's eyes go wide as it feels the acid melting its natural armor instantly. Desperate, the dragon stretches its arms, trying to rip off the summons stuck to its body. Without mercy, the protagonist clenches his fist, crushing his own minions in an explosive sacrifice. In the burst, dozens of liters of concentrated poison cover the creature's scales, melting everything. From his devilish smile, the kid explains that he sacrificed the frog's brute force just to focus on a lethal, level 12 acid attribute. Seething in pain, the Draconian roars to the sky as its entire body begins to disintegrate under the toxin. Blinded by fury, the beast charges forward, destroying the arena floor in a last desperate attempt to kill the human. In a suicidal rush, the big monster focuses on its target, leaping like a missile straight for the kid's neck. Calmly, with his hands in his pockets, the MC compliments the creature's absurd resistance to the acid. Secretly, the hero injects all his spiritual power into the staff's skull, buffing the item's defenses to the extreme. In a fraction of a second, the kid raises the staff to his face, bracing for the impact of the colossal beast's tons of weight. Impressed, the kid realizes that even with half its strength drained by the poison, the monster is still terrifyingly heavy. Aware of the risk, the necromancer pulls his arm back and delivers a mana-infused blow directly to the dragon's cracked chest. Completely off balance, the Draconian flies backward, screaming in a mix of hatred and humiliation. Immediately, the MC aims his free hand and casts bone control into the air. Without its thick hide to protect it, the magic manipulates the beast's internal structure, breaking its legs from the inside out. Kneeling in the sand, the dragon lets out a sharp cry, feeling its own bones shatter. With the perfect opening, the hero points his finger, commanding the remaining poison zombies to attack without retreat. Cornered, the giant can barely stay on its feet as the green mob crawls over it like ants. Completely enveloped in acidic smoke, the big monster spends its last seconds of life grunting into the void. On its knees, the Draconian slams its giant fist into the Colosseum floor, with no strength left to fight. Completely corroded from the inside out, the legendary warrior turns into a formless mass of scales and poison. Cold and calculating, the kid watches its fall, admitting that the creature had an honorable final fight. On the arena floor, the elite beast
Whatever
of the
you
dragon army
need.
dies pathetically, face down in the dirt. Satisfied with the loot, the hero's staff sucks up the dark essence left from the confrontation, spinning the weapon between his fingers. The protagonist lets out a heavy sigh, celebrating the end of the insane trial. In the empty scene, the kid dusts off his clothes, walking beside the slain giant, concentrating all his remaining divine and spiritual energy.
Armed
He launches
and ready.
a holy aura directly at the rotting carcass. On the screen, the life drain magic finishes the collection, and the system announces that the resistance test has been passed. Floating nearby, the miniature titan praises the nearly impossible feat of defeating a Draconian using poison tactics. As the ultimate prize, the system awards the Mark of Resistance, an absurd passive that reduces cooldown time and increases mana flow. Staring at the reward, the kid grumbles that the real prize is lying on the ground. Enveloped in mana smoke, the necromancer declares that a Draconian corpse is the most valuable raw material in existence. To process a carcass of this level, the MC puts a hand on his chin, remembering he'll need advanced alchemy tools. Back in the city, the landscape changes to an industrial district full of electrical wires and tightly packed buildings. Standing in front of a dilapidated warehouse, the kid observes the old alchemical lab of a future genius. Sighing with nostalgia, the hero notes that the place is still the same dump it was before his regression. Sneaking in, the strong smell of chemicals makes the kid cough and cover his nose with his sleeve. Inside the lab, a curtain of smoke reveals an unlucky researcher emerging, coughing, from the wreckage of another explosion. With a grin from ear to ear, the kid confirms he's found the right target. Amidst the mess, the blonde alchemist tries to clear the smoke, grumbling about the failed experiment. From the MC's memory, this weirdo will soon become Reni Shintani, the genius creator of Japan's most famous low-cost healing potion. Politely, the kid waves, interrupting the cleanup and getting the messy researcher's attention. Straight to the point, he introduces himself as Ryoga Chinen and shamelessly asks to use the lab's private tools. Surprised and a bit offended, the alchemist's eyebrow twitches as he says the visitor doesn't have to be so rude. Immediately, the hero cuts off the complaint, arguing that he doesn't want help for free and proposes a fair trade. With that intimidating look, the kid hits the nail on the head, saying the researcher is struggling to stabilize his medium healing potion. Caught red-handed, the alchemist stammers in fear, not understanding how a stranger knew about his biggest secret project. Moving along the workbench, the MC grabs a few test tubes and announces he'll prove his worth by fixing the formula. Desperate, the blonde guy pulls his own hair, warning that the mixture is pure chaos and could blow them both up at any second. Ignoring the fit, the kid lays down the truth, saying it would take the genius many years to master alchemy on his own. Without wasting time, the hero grabs a razor from the bench, rolls up his sleeve, and faces the researcher. In a clean, swift motion, the necromancer slashes his own forearm, opening a deep gash. He quickly pours a green solution he just prepared directly onto the open wound. With a sinister fizz, the liquid reacts with his skin, causing the flesh to smoke and knit itself back together. In a matter of seconds, the cut closes completely, proving the brutal effectiveness of the experimental potion. Utterly dumbfounded, the scientist's eyes go wide, shining at the sight of the instant healing. Focused on the chemistry, the genius holds up the test tube, shouting with joy at finally seeing the formula stabilized. Unable to contain himself, the alchemist shakes the kid's shoulders, wanting to know every detail of the process. A bit uncomfortable with his contact, he pushes the blonde guy away, confirming he'd reveal the recipe with no problem. Completely seduced by the advanced alchemy, the researcher begs for the secret, accepting any condition. With his greenish eyes gleaming with malice, the kid extends his hand, offering a deal with the devil. In the agreement, the hero would teach healing potions and advanced recipes, asking only for lifetime use of the workshop's tools. In addition to the knowledge, the necromancer adds an extra clause, splitting the potion's future profits 60% for him and 40% for the scientist. Swallowing hard, the researcher smiling at the red test tube, the kid mentally confirms that he's just hooked his newest genius partner. Using out of nowhere, the gigantic carcass of the dead draconian slides out of the portal, taking up half the free space in the room. Before his partner's terrified gaze, the kid crosses his arms and explains, as if it were the most normal thing in the world, that he needs to process the corpse for his necromancy. Without waiting for approval, the kid grabs a basin and tells the researcher to stop drooling and come help with the dirty work. Trembling from head to toe, the blonde guy complains that they haven't even signed the contract yet, but he's already being treated like an employee. In a defensive tone, the scientist says he's only lending the space while he considers the business proposal. Over his shoulder, the miniature titan whispers to the kid that the human is just playing hard to get. In his memory of his past life, the protagonist remembers that this scientist was exploited by the country's largest corporation in the recent past. Lamenting the tragic history, the kid recalls that the blonde guy's boss stole all his credit, throwing the researcher to the bottom. Understanding the trauma, the hero finishes by saying he trusts the genius's ability and that he'll soon discover how profitable their union will be. Taunting his partner, the kid holds up an iron ladle, demanding the alchemist prove his worth in practice. Under his glasses, the blonde guy grits his teeth with a furrowed brow, feeling the challenge weigh on his shoulders. Totally focused, the scientist snatches the tool from the kid's hands, muttering that he accepts the test. Sitting comfortably on top of some boxes, the protagonist dictates the instructions, telling him to melt 5 rank F mana stones. Instantly, the researcher finishes the mixture, showing the bubbling flask to the kid, who praises his speed. Impressed by the blonde's natural talent, the necromancer smirks, planning how to use all this skill. Carefully, he pours the newly created crystalline liquid directly into the crevices of the draconian's bone armor. With purple magic glowing in his hands, the MC explains that he's going to carve formulas onto the scales and imbue them with curses. Explaining the theory, the kid states that overlapping enchantments is the ultimate key to buffing a summon. At a frantic pace, the duo repeats the process over and over, as if they've worked together their whole lives. Drenched in sweat, the exhausted alchemist shouts as he pours more solutions into flasks while the kid demands more. Finally, the kid finishes the last curse, admiring the purplish glow covering the creature's scales. Stretching his back, the hero celebrates the end of the job, bragging that they finished it all in just 3 days. Completely wiped out, the researcher collapses into a chair, questioning who the heck this crazy kid was. With his hand in his pocket, the protagonist stares at the masterpiece, knowing that even though he's only level 1, he's unreal. Looking at the workbench, the alchemist mentally admits that the kid's magical abilities break all logic. Without any fuss, the MC approaches, suggesting the 60-40 profit split, catching the blonde guy by surprise. Composing himself, the researcher adjusts his tie and accepts the initial proposal without a second thought. Finding it suspiciously easy, the kid asks if he's sure about giving up the bigger piece of the pie so quickly. Sighing heavily, the scientist reveals it would have taken him at least 2 years to finish the potion alone, and the help was worth the price. Hiding with joy, the hero flashes a victorious smile, knowing he hit the jackpot. Shaking his partner's hand, the necromancer ironically says he can't wait to exploit his talent. Focusing on the next step, he knows he urgently needs to find a soul powerful enough to inhabit the modified dragon. In the middle of the silence, a phone rings, breaking the tense atmosphere in the lab. Answering the call from the newbie leader, the kid thanks him for the money transfer from the dungeons, and immediately starts talking about the next job. Far, far away, the dense landscape of an unexplored forest marks the edge of the hunter's safe zone. Pushing through the tall grass, the terrified newbie team arrives at the designated meeting. With a nod, the MC signals for the crew to follow him down the more overgrown path. Shivering from the cold, the girl in the group asks if it's safe to wander into a forest full of monsters after the portal broke. Grinned from ear to ear, the kid confesses he took advantage of the chaos just to go collect an old debt. Pushing aside the branches in front of him, the kid analyzes the dark clearing with a super serious expression. Right behind him, the team follows in single file, holding their shields and weapons with trembling hands. With a bizarre crash, a heavy footstep smashes the trunk of a fallen tree, splitting the wood in half. Cautiously, the group hides in the shadows, watching the enemy patrol walking down the trail. Paralyzed with panic, the big guy whispers that it's a 2-star orc, begging the kid not to advance. Ignoring the team's warning, the necromancer pulls out his enormous goblin bone staff and steps into the open area. Without hesitation, the kid shouts the bone control magic, focusing all his mana on the weapon. Immediately, the orca's eyes glow blood red, fixing its gaze on the audacious human. With a roar, the beast hurls its giant spear directly at the hero at an absurd speed. Tearing through the wind, the weapon cuts through the air, creating a white trail of dust in its path. Without dodging, the kid simply raises his staff calmly, assessing the strength of the enemy shot. Using the magic's precision, the hero intercepts the spear with the bone club, deflecting the lethal attack by millimeters. Following the deflection, the staff bats the creature's own weapon back, piercing the orc's shoulder from top to bottom. With a cold expression, the MC notes that he aimed for the heart, but the monster's resistance lessened the damage. Livid, the ogre pulls out a sharp club made of pure bone, growling at the kid's audacity. Bleeding on the ground, the monster gets a running start and charges like a tank to crush its opponent. With its giant hand raised, the beast prepares a deadly blow for the forest floor. In the last millisecond before impact, the kid calmly dodges, letting the fist shatter the earth. In an explosion of mud and rock, the orc's strength creates an absurd crater in the terrain. Seizing the opening, the team raises their shields, blocking the debris while the leader thanks him for the perfect timing. With his eyes glowing an intense blue, the kid decides to stop playing with his inferior opponent. Stretching out his fingers, covered in dark energy, he announces that instead of controlling just one bone, he's going to control 3. Shouting the magic command, the necromancer focuses on the creature's own ribs, tearing its structure apart from the inside out. In a horror show, the orc's chest explodes, sending blood everywhere as the tips of its bones pierce through its skin. Collapsing lifelessly, the beast's body hits the grass, kicking up dust right in front of the terrified group of hunters. In total shock, the big guy stammers, unable to believe the newbie killed a double-rank monster without breaking a sweat. Dismissing the drama, the MC calls the team to continue their journey, heading even deeper into the woods. Curious, the leader follows the kid, asking if he's sure of the path and reminding him of the person the hero wanted to find. Confirming the suspicion, the kid focuses his gaze on the giant trees of the Dark Frontier. Right behind the protagonist, the enormous zombified carcass of the recently slain orc walks, swinging its spear in its blood-stained hands. Stopping at the top of the hill, the kid points to the gigantic, fortified orc village, finally revealing the hideout of his old target. The armored warrior eyes him suspiciously and asks if the protagonist is really sure the person they're looking for is in there. Without skipping a beat, our boy confirms the info with the coolest demeanor in the world. Locked on his system panel, which displays the zombie race, the kid explains that their target is hiding out in the orc settlement. With a sly grin, the necromancer mentions that they can even make some extra cash along the way. A bit awkwardly, the rest of the team lets out a few nervous laughs, going along with their boss's crazy idea. In the late afternoon sky, birds fly peacefully over the dense forest.
I like to drink
a
on
gigantic
occasion.
orc brutally collapses,
Any and
dead
every
in the middle
occasion.
of the tall grass, kicking up a cloud of dust. Behind his new zombie minion, our protag celebrates the system notification announcing he's reached level 13. Next thing you know, the screen announces that the stat limit for this race has been hit as the fresh corpse rots on the grass. Lost in thought, our hero figures it'd be pretty weird if power gains were infinite with no ceiling at all. Satisfied with the day's farm, the kid tells the team the hunt is over for now. In front of the warm bonfire, the kid suggests they set up camp and spend the night safely. The impressed warrior compliments the kid's preparedness, who just points out they're already on day 3 of their trip. Under the light of the full moon, our protagonist notices his stats have jumped quite a bit and declares that they'll head for the settlement tomorrow. Right away, the leader of the newbies agrees and takes the first watch of the night. Leaving everyone stunned, the necromancer has his giant orc minions take over guard duty. Bathed in moonlight, the undead beasts stand like creepy statues around the fire. Panicked in their tents, the team members completely lose sleep. Terrified by their bizarre guards, perched on top of a rock by himself, the protagonist soaks in the silence of the Starry Night, unleashing his dark aura. The kid decides it's the perfect time to read the newly unlocked hidden knowledge. Instantly transported, the system opens the doors to the colossal library of knowledge of the ancient Death Lords. Carefully, the protag's hand touches the cover of a dark and mysterious tome. Reading the pages, the kid discovers the system has locked most of the content, requiring level 45. Frustrated, our hero realizes that having only 1 star means he'll have to settle for the basic necromancy guide. Letting out a heavy sigh, the kid accepts his fate and decides to focus on the beginner's book anyway. Sitting on the floor of the magical library, our protag dives into his reading, devouring every single word of the manual. Before his very eyes, the tome's pages glow, transferring ancient spells directly into his mind. With his golden eyes glowing intensely, a complete understanding of the magic washes over the kid. As the sun rises over the mountains, the system finally announces that a new skill has been successfully acquired. A bit drowsy back at camp, the rookie shooter lets out a long yawn, stretching his tired body. With little patience, the protagonist tells the kid to get out of bed already. As soon as he opens his eyes, the rookie comes face to face with a monstrous zombie orc staring into his soul. In a desperate leap, the shooter scrambles back, screaming, while our protag complains about him making a scene over something they see every day. From the creature's silhouette, the armored warrior notices the zombie is way bigger and wearing some kind of bone armor. With that proud smirk of his, the kid confesses he made a few modifications to his summons during the night. To everyone's surprise, an entire army of armored zombies, boasting superhuman strength, awaits their orders. Right on the panel, the new spells Bone Armor and Flesh Swarm show off the absurd level of the upgrade. Leading his elite troop, our hero declares it's time to invade the orc settlement once and for all. Tearing across the sky, reddish clouds announce the start of a bloody day. Standing at the edge of the forest, the human team and the undead horde face their final destination. In front of them, the gigantic orc fortress displays its wooden walls and watchtowers. Immediately, an enemy guard sounds the alarm, screaming at the top of his lungs that invaders have arrived. Answering the call, dozens of furious orcs pour out of the main gate, armed with spears. Extending his hand, his eyes glowing green, the necromancer casts the bone control spell. A macabre blast of energy explodes towards the enemy troops in a flash. With brutal impact, the spell rips through the orcs' bodies and weapons, shattering their front line. Brushing the dust off his jacket, our hero calmly asks the monsters to stop making such a racket. Enraged by this defiance, the tribe's chief raises his red axe and roars, ordering a counterattack. On top of the wall, orc archers ready their giant bows, aiming at the invading group. Under a hail of heavy arrows, the team's warrior charges forward, blocking the projectiles with his magic shield. Taking advantage of the defense, the team's female mage gathers mana and conjures a brilliant fire arrow. Slicing through the air, the flaming projectile flies straight into the center of the enemy army. A direct hit, the magic pierces the big orc's chest, incinerating the monster on the spot. The impressed protagonist praises the girl's skill, predicting the team is going to level up a lot from here on out. With a war cry, our protag commands the final charge, and the two armies collide violently on the field. Directing the attack, our hero orders his armored minion to crush the enemies. With one devastating punch, the zombie unleashes a blast of blue energy that wipes the orcs off the map. Totally satisfied, the kid notes that spending the night reading in the library was worth every second. Completely panicking, the surviving orcs fall back, terrified by the overwhelming strength of the undead. With a psycho look in his eyes, the necromancer warns in a dark tone that this is just the beginning of the beatdown. Showing no mercy, the armored zombies steamroll the enemies, tearing flesh and shattering swords with brute force. In a desperate attempt to fight back, a brave orc lands a solid hit on one of the summon's defenses. Although the bone armor takes damage, the attack barely tickles the undead minion. Quickly, our hero extends his hand and casts a repair spell to fix the cracks in the defense. With its bones restored, the zombie grabs the enemy's weapon, leaving the orc completely stunned. Switching tactics, the kid summons the crawling flesh spell right on the blood-soaked ground. Like spikes, the cursed pieces of flesh fly out, piercing the backs of the unsuspecting orcs. Screaming in agony, the monsters fall to their knees, completely paralyzed by the flesh spikes. Baffled by the strategy, the leader of the newbies realizes the kid is using their own bodies to trap them. Jaw dropped, the big guy concludes that the rookie's level of control is on another level. Suddenly, a thunderous step makes the earth tremble, silencing the entire battlefield. Stepping out of the shadows, a scar-covered orc chief glares at the invaders, snorting with rage. With its red eyes glowing, the creature enters a state of absolute fury, activating its berserk mode. Right on the screen, the system flashes a red alert, warning that the threat has evolved to a unique danger level. Keeping his arrogant pose, the protagonist just cracks a little smirk, confessing he was getting tired of waiting. With a deafening roar, the orc chief smashes the ground, preparing to pounce. Right on the screen, the system flashes another red alert, warning that the creature has entered berserk mode and become a unique monster. Not hiding his excitement, our protag smirks, confessing that the wait is finally over. Consumed by fury, the huge monster swings its giant axe in the air, letting out a thunderous scream. The necromancer then extends his hand and conjures his bone control spell. In the blink of an eye, the dark magic whips through the air, creating a wicked impact on the battlefield. From the inside out, the orc's own ribs tear through its chest in a bizarre spray of red. The sharp bones brutally pierce through the chief's thick skin without any mercy. Overcome by absurd pain, the huge monster roars at the sky as its body is torn apart from the inside. In disbelief, the orc clutches the wound, stammering about its shattered bones. In a tone of pure mockery, the kid tells the enemy to stop whining in the middle of a fight. With the spell draining a ton of mana, our hero ironically points out the orc isn't the only one kicking the bucket, so there's no need to be so pessimistic. Shocked by the consumption, the kid notes that controlling Six Bones uses a lot of energy and decides to pierce its heart in one final blow. Focused on the end goal, our hero unleashes the bone control spell one more time with full force. Immediately, the bone stakes sink even deeper into the creature's chest, consuming almost all of the protagonist's spiritual power. Completely immobilized, the orc chief is lifted into the air by its own bones in a macabre display. At that, the kid takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of the insane energy cost. To turn the tables, our hero extends his hand and activates his OP life drain ability. A spiritual aura quickly surrounds the kid, recovering almost all his mana. With his energy restored, the protagonist clenches his fist, ready to finish the slaughter. Wrecked, the huge monster collapses to its knees, too weak to even hold its head up. Terrified by their chief's demise, the other orcs turn tail and scream desperately, trying to flee. With a sinister green glow in his eyes, our protag questions if the cowards really think they're getting away. With a quick spell, the crawling flesh magic sprouts from the ground, grabbing the legs of the fleeing enemies. With no chance to defend themselves, the monsters fall flat on their faces, swallowed by the flesh ambush. All across the field, dozens of orcs are stuck in the traps, looking like insects caught in a web. On the sly, a zombie minion moves in and finishes off an enemy with a brutal strike from behind. In the middle of the bloodbath, the orc chief's body rests with a giant bone skewered through its heart. Shocked by the sea of magic stones on the ground, the newbies try to calculate the fortune they just farmed. Ignoring the small fries, the kid grabs the handle of the boss's axe, announcing that this is the real grand prize. Right on the screen, the system displays the stats of the blood axe, revealing that it amplifies strength by absorbing blood. Satisfied, our hero comments that invading the orc village was worth every drop of sweat. With a firm voice, he passes the responsibility of collecting the loot to the shooter, Yuma. Worried, the archer agrees to grab everything and begs the boss for a break to rest. Step by step, the kid walks away from the team, heading towards the darker parts of the woods. In front of a giant, withered tree, our hero announces out loud that he's finally found what he was looking for. Very casually, he tells the entity hiding there to come out for a friendly chat. Drenched in a deadly silence, the old tree gives no reaction whatsoever. Out of patience, the protagonist lets out a tired sigh and pulls a sharp bone from his inventory. He quickly lights the piece of bone on fire, warning that if the creature wants a fight it'll get. In a rough move, the kid swings the makeshift torch, ready to burn everything down. Out of nowhere, a wicked green aura forms a shield, stopping the blow in its tracks. Responding to the threat, a shadowy, ghostly figure begins to emerge from within the ancient trunk. The furious black spirit demands to know who the intruder is, while our protag mentally grumbles about always having to deal with cocky ghosts. Changing his posture in the blink of an eye, the kid flashes a cynical little smile, saying it's a huge pleasure to meet the entity. Without beating around the bush, our hero reveals the spirit's identity, calling the ghost the magic fighter, Kashiwagi Sora. Stunned by the revelation, the specter trembles with rage, questioning how a brat knows its real name. Full of confidence, the kid recalls that the specter was a hero in the war from 35 years ago, hiding the fact they'd already fought together in the future. The kid then mentions that Japan didn't fall thanks to that sacrifice, and they even erected a stone memorial, so the day would never be forgotten. In a memory of the past, the legend fought on the front lines, combining martial arts and magic with unique skill. After hearing the story, the ghost lets out a sigh of relief, glad to know its brutal end was not in vain. At that, the protag's expression hardens, and he states that unfortunately, not everyone had their name carved into history. Confused, the black spirit tilts its shadow, covered head, not understanding the message. Hitting where it hurts, our hero asks if he remembers the Vice, master of the Aragiri Guild, making the entity instantly boil with rage. Immediately, the scene cuts to a dark memory of a city being completely swallowed by flames. In the middle of the inferno, the Kashiwagi of the past screams desperately into his radio, begging for reinforcements. Worried about the innocent lives, he warns that many civilians are trapped in the agricultural district during the attack. Almost out of hope, the fighter yells his commander's name, pleading for any kind of rescue. Witnessing the slaughter of his partners, the hero reports that he can't hold the front line any longer. Cold and calculating, the leaders respond over the radio, denying support and sealing the fate of everyone there. In shock, the fighter processes the information, realizing his team was used as sacrificial bait from the very beginning.
I'll take
Over
point.
the communicator, he exposes the betrayal, accusing the cowards of fleeing to the north while his team bled out in the south. Without a shred of remorse, the commander laughs, confessing he used their lives to buy time for his own escape. Consumed by hatred, the hero concludes the guild lied on purpose, using his sense of justice as a trap. In a disgusting manner, the traitor demands his subordinates stop being so pessimistic and just accept his own demise. Full of ego, the commander declares that the Arajeri Guild will take the glory for the rescue, but only the survivors will tell the tale. Clenching the radio, the coward decrees that if the team perishes, the whole incident just gets swept under the rug. In that same moment, the absurd impact from a monster sends the fighter flying like a rag doll. From high above the clouds, a cataclysmic purple lightning bolt crashes down on the city, wiping the rest of the soldiers off the map. Fallen in the rubble, the warrior's body succumbs to the flames, his life slowly fading on the ravaged earth. Before the final end, the memory reveals the hero screaming for the rest of his team to run and save the civilians. In tears, one of the subordinates refuses to abandon his leader, his tears falling amidst the chaos. With his last breath, the fighter declares that the order is absolute, forcing his friends to flee. Back in the present, the kid throws the truth in the ghost's face, stating that the scumbag who betrayed them became a national hero. For the final nail in the coffin, the protagonist reveals that all the real records of the ghost's bravery were erased from history forever. Putting on a pitiful look, the protagonist says it's a real tragedy for someone to perish saving others and not be able to rest in peace. Absolutely furious, the giant spirit roars, telling the kid to stop beating around the bush and get to the point. With that same confident smile, the kid promises to help the ghost get its long-awaited revenge. Trapped in the shadows, the former hero listens to the tempting proposal, and the kid suggests a contract to turn him into an undead. Blue magic overflows from the necromancer's hands as he reveals he's already prepared the perfect vessel to house the warrior's soul. Staring at the modified, monstrous draconian carcass, the spirit hesitates for a moment, weighing the offer. Being honest, the ghost confesses that in its current form, it didn't even have enough energy to think about revenge. Floating above the carcass, the entity sets a single condition, demanding that the kid never use this new power to harm the innocent. Other than that, the black spirit accepts the pact, declaring the human can use him as he sees fit. With a victorious little smile, the kid realizes that even in the afterlife, Kashiwaji's pure heart remains exactly the same as it was in his past life. Ironically, our hero quietly comments that all that nobility is truly befitting of a real hero. Bathed in the golden light of the late afternoon, our protag accepts the deal, assuring him he understands the rules. The specter then dives straight towards the corpse, confirming its new life as a summon. At that exact moment, the system flashes on the screen, announcing that ownership of the Earth Spirit, Soku Kashiwaji, has been successfully acquired. Thinking back, the kid recalls that before his regression, he had possessed this hero's soul in a mere skeleton knight. Before his eyes, the draconian carcass comes to life, moving slowly as our protag compliments his own masterpiece. Confused, the newborn monster stares at its own thick, scaled claws, feeling the absurd strength of the modified body. Unable to contain his excitement, the kid points at the status panel, yelling that the thing turned out incredibly OP. On the screen, the system reveals that the dragon inherited the magic fighter, trait allowing it to mix magic and melee with no penalties. Checking his own power, the big lizard grumbles that his current strength is just so and a bit weaker than when he was alive. Intrigued by the comment, the protagonist mentally questions if the incomplete curse method is to blame. Pushing the details aside, the necromancer smiles, satisfied,
Let the
stating
wind
that for the
lead.
start of the journey, this level is more than enough. Under the orange sky, the kid turns his back, telling the monster to follow him back to the city. To test its obedience, our hero calls the creature minion for the first time, making the beast freeze up. A bit bothered by the term, the dragon stops walking and grumbles that he didn't really like that nickname. Curious, our protag stops and asks what the big monster's problem is. In a solemn tone, the summon explains that he threw away his old name when he passed and asks for a new, worthy title. Letting out a long sigh, the kid realizes the warrior has become way more problematic and demanding than he was in the past. Wanting to please his partner, our hero tries to think of an intimidating name, but admits he's not very creative with naming things. Throwing out a feeler, the kid suggests Fafnir, from Norse mythology, but the dragon immediately rejects it, finding it too cliché. Without missing a beat, the kid throws out another classic, proposing Orochi, and gets another no to his face. Annoyed by all the fuss, the kid grits his teeth, threatening to beat the snot out of this sassy lizard right then and there. A bit sheepishly, the dragon raises a hand and agrees that Fafnir isn't all that bad. Tired of the debate, our hero declares Fafnir will be the final name and continues down the path. Suddenly, the summon panics and asks his master to wait, complaining that he's walking around practically naked. Looking at the city streets, the monster feels embarrassed by the lack of clothing covering its scales. Immediately, the dragon grabs an old cloth and wraps it around its waist in a quick improvisation. Relieved, he ties the fabric and comments that he feels much better and more decent now. With his improvised loincloth, Fafnir wags his tail and finally follows his master on their walk. Shocked by the scene, the necromancer just stares at the creature, wondering if this modesty was always the hero's true
The rain
personality.
stopped.
In the big
We
city,
march
the
on.
isolated laboratory glows under the moonlight with suspicious activity inside. Desperate, the blonde alchemist is freaking out because the dragon carcass that was in the tank has vanished into thin air. With a completely deadpan expression, the kid announces he already found the perfect soul and put it in the modified body. Terrified, the scientist shrinks into a corner, asking for permission to punch the monster that's staring at him in the face. Keeping his cool, the protagonist clarifies that Fafnir is not an experiment, but the team's newest partner. In a quick flashback, the team of newbies says goodbye to their boss, letting him know they're heading to Tokyo to organize the farmed items. Back in the lab, our protag activates his inventory, flooding the room with a dark green aura. With a spectral glow, the magic brings out the massive carcass of the orc chief they took down earlier. Crouching next to the deceased, the kid asks the alchemist what they should do with the big green guy. Immediately, the blonde scientist drops to his knees beside the team, fascinated by the quality of the material. Full of ulterior motives, the kid asks if his partner is curious about analyzing the boss's body. Trembling all over, the alchemist lies through his teeth, saying he has no interest at all, remembering he almost lost his arm mixing herbs. In desperation, the scientist smashes his own equipment with a mortar and pestle, yelling that he can't suppress his researcher's curiosity. Sweating bullets, he stares at the body and admits that the materials the kid brings always exceed any logical expectation. Not losing momentum, our hero casts the flesh separation spell to speed up the process. As the orc's body is stripped of its flesh, the mini titan floats nearby, asking if the kid is planning to create another undead. With a sly little grin, the protagonist replies to the god that you can never have too much firepower in a war. On the system, the status panel pops up, confirming the extracted skeleton's quality is high grade, guaranteeing double stats across the board. Finishing the process, the alchemist hands a vial of green extract to his boss, praising the fine work. Immediately, our hero pours the magic liquid over the bones, triggering the magic that focuses purely on enhancing the creature's strength. With his eyes glowing in approval, the necromancer declares that the new summon will serve perfectly as his personal entering Death's Hall, fleshless feet step firmly onto the left. Straight from the underworld, the orc skeleton rises, holding a giant. As his first order, the kid informs the skeletal soldier that its only function is to protect him whenever he uses the light ability. Loyal to his master, the armor
That's gonna leave a scar.
Posture. Staring at the masterpiece, the scientist adjusts his glasses.
Drop your weapons!
For no reason, focusing everything on a purely defensive skill. In a teachable moment, the kid explains that unlike normal zombies, skeletons can decay, immunity by magic indefinitely without causing bad smell. Totally impressed by the logic, the researcher thinks that the rookie is way ahead of his time for worrying about troop maintenance. Without any fuss, the kid announces he needs to leave to handle some urgent business and tells the blondie to take care of the mess. Startled, the alchemist asks where the heck the kid is going in the middle of the night. Walking out of the warehouse, our protag replies in the most natural way that the system has summoned him to the Pantheon to pick up a divine spell. In complete shock, the scientist's jaw drops, unable to believe what he just heard. Stammering and completely losing it, the blonde guy yells, questioning how a heretical necromancer is going to get holy magic and asks if the kid is a priest in disguise. Faced with this meltdown, the skeleton guard just stares at the scene, confused, as the kid turns to leave. With the meanie goddess of death floating on his shoulder, the kid gives a mischievous smile and jokes that he's actually a
Final
very
warning! Hands where I can see them!
The alchemist yells that it's absolutely impossible for the world to turn upside down like this, while our protag ironically says that his destruction is deliberate. To change the subject, the kid gets straight to the point and asks if his partner has finished registering the map to the medium healing potion. Surprised by the quick change, the researcher confirms the review process will begin soon. Thoughtfully, the scientist explains that the name only attracts rivals and lanes, but the problem now is advertising, since the official will start next year. With a shrewd smile, the necromancer asks for a few vials, promising to handle the promotion himself at the first opportunity. Without a second thought, the blondie hands the red potion over to the kid, hoping the plan works out. Focused on the glowing vial, our hero declares that if this strategy works, they'll be swimming in rivers of cash very soon. Completely consumed by greed, our protag lets out an evil laugh under a shower of coins, affirming that money is what really makes the world go round. In the corner of the room, the alchemist breaks into a cold sweat, staring at the kid's terrifying aura and wondering if that maniac is really a priest. In a scene cut, the gigantic tower of the Pantheon stands imposing under the moonlight, a landmark that appeared after the Great Cataclysm. Inside, the kid observes the crowd seeking divine spells and notes how this sacred environment is incredibly focused on worldly interests. By our protag's logic, the true materialists are the constellations themselves, demanding rivers of offerings from their blind followers. Walking through the ancient corridors, our hero finds the lack of divine presence in the relics strange and wonders who would leave valuable items just lying on the floor. Out of nowhere, a drop of sweat trickles down the kid's face as he realizes the harsh reality of the physical challenge ahead. Seriously ticked off, the kid glares at the infinite staircase, wondering if the gods have at least installed a foundation. From the outside, the tower shows its absurd size while our hero controls the 108 steps required to prove one's devotion. Out of breath, the kid hears the nitty-gritty of the climb is cruel and hope they don't get struck by lightning. Impatient, the floating titan asks,
Drop your weapons!
Riley replies,
You asked for it!
Upon realizing the spectacle moves while the protagonist is wondering about it. Seizing with rage, the necromancer swears to himself. If he doesn't get an absurd reward for all this effort, this tower is going to burn. Finally, the kid's heavy boot lands on the last step, reaching the top of the divine structure. Before our protag's eyes, a colossal hall is revealed, with a magical ceiling projecting an entire universe of
To the adventurer go the
Showing
spoils.
no motion, our hero
This
watches
loot's
the
all
panel
yours.
beats frantically, warning that several famous stars are disgusted and suspicious of him. Roaring with laughter, the Titan finds the collective rejection hilarious, while the kid tells the old man to shut up for a second. Tearing through space, the colossal figure of a bearded and imposing god appears, declaring that it is now his turn to evaluate the human. Flooding the room with a crushing energy, the constellation displays all its ancestral power in a flash of light. Pointing its giant finger at our protag, the system officially registers the deity known as the Giant of the Defiant Heavens in the Pantheon. Right after the screen glows, transferring the coveted holy spells, Unholy Blessing, and Wedge of Retribution directly into our hero's arsenal. Full of swagger, the old god brags about the gift he's given, while the kid reads the skill descriptions, confirming the spells are incredibly useful. Completely euphoric, the god lets out a thunderous laugh, thinking he's the most incredible entity in the entire universe. But the joy is short-lived as the system kills the mood, announcing that the deity lacks sufficient power to be a full-fledged constellation. Utterly indignant, the kid reads that the god's light is too faint to attract followers and curses the notification, calling it trash. Despite the buzzkill, our hero cracks a lethal smile, satisfied with the undeniable fact that he's become even more of a monster. Far from there, the sun begins to set, bathing the bustling streets of the big city in orange hues. Step by step, the necromancer walks calmly down the sidewalk, returning from his exhausting mission. Suddenly, a provocative voice gets his attention, questioning why a loser is coming out of the Pantheon. Looking down the street, our protag is approached by the intimidating figure of the big blonde guy known as Shigeru Sate. With the most blank and expressionless face in the world, our hero just asks who the heck this guy is. A little offended, the thug tries to jog the kid's memory, reminding him that he took care of him back in their orphanage days. Racking his brain, the kid recognizes the piece of human trash who used to extort the others and tells him not to talk like their friends. Immediately, a dark flashback shows the big guy beating up a younger protagonist in a dark alley in the past. In the memory, the brute lifts the little kid by his collar, furious for being ratted out to the institution's director. Without a shred of pity, the aggressor lands a brutal punch right in the middle of the defenseless kid's face. Back in the present, our hero scoffs, asking if the guy's nose is healed since the last time he broke it, enraging the blondie. Trying to maintain his superior act, the brute runs a hand through his hair, hiding the rage that's about to explode. Full of swagger, the aggressor puffs out his chest and points to the shiny blue emblem on his shirt. Showing off his achievement, the big guy proudly reveals he was recruited by the famous Arageri Guild. Leaning in to intimidate him, the blonde guy mocks him, guessing our protag is just some low-level hunter and threatens that the beating will be worse this time. Cold as ice, the necromancer doesn't move a muscle and drearily responds that, for him, nothing has changed. Gritting his teeth, the thug finally loses his patience, ready to get violent right in the middle of the street. Winding up a punch, the blondie screams at the top of his lungs, telling the kid not to get so full of himself. Before the punch connects, a mysterious hand grabs the aggressor's wrist with relentless force. Interrupting the fight, the captain of the 7th Squad, a man named Rago Joman, tells his subordinate to cut the crap. Desperate to justify himself, the brute tries to explain the provocation, but is immediately cut off by his leader. Staring intently at our hero, the captain proposes a change of scenery to settle their beef in an official duel under the Mentally, the team leader wants to take a brat, to pick a fight knowing the weight of the guild's name. Manipulating the
Try to keep up!
captain encourages the score seconds, wanting him to work it all out in a team fight. With malicious mind,
That's gonna leave
the
a
blonde guy
scar.
begins to arguing with the coward that only recently became king. Without a second thought, I vote against the discussion and accept the duel.
Up the ante!
Caught completely off guard by the quick response, he goes through a burst of
Thunder!
flashing a sadistic little smile, the necromancer returns the song. The big guys got scared of the chance. Foaming at the mouth, the blonde guy threatens our hero, warning him there's no battle. In the meantime, the trio is already at the door of the gigantic official gym.
Up the ante!
Seen from above, the fighters take their positions in the circular arena, prepared for the start of the sanctioned confrontation. Cool as a cucumber, the kid reveals he's a priest class and drops the bomb that the brute will be fighting his draconian representative, Fafnir. Full of self-confidence, the blondie activates his body buffs and scoffs, asking if the big lizard is some kind of cheap summoning skill. Not taking the beast seriously, the aggressor tightens his grip on his weapon. Guaranteeing nothing isn't going to save the kid's team. With a magical crackle between
Got a
four
bit
blows,
too cocky.
the system's official dueling runes. In a flash, the interface scans the stats of everyone in the arena, measuring each
Hands where I can see
team's
'em!
balance to fight fairly. Cold and nimble,
Overruled!
so Captain just watches as the panel announces the life area and declares the start of the season. Straight to the gym, where magic runes light up, activating the system to the official rule. Full of swagger, Blondie cracks a sadistic smile as the panel measures the fighter stats.
On
Cool
me.
and calculating, our MC just hears the warning that
Up the ante!
against any fatal hits. Right off the bat, the big guy taunts him, laughing and laughing. He gets so scared he's gonna get his playing it cool. The necromancer just points to his ear, asking what the heck this guy is even talking about. From the shadows, Fafnir comments that he never imagined running into the famous Argeri guild in a place like this. Wasting no time, the zombie dragon raises his fists, getting into a combat stance. With a look that could kill, the minion declares that against Argeri, there's absolutely no reason to hold back. Our hero quickly kills the vibe, telling his summon not to end it all in just one hit because he wants to test something. Cracking a sadistic grin, the big lizard confesses that holding back is going to be the real challenge. Fuming at the disrespect, the brute charges forward, screaming that he's going to show the lizard its true place. At an absurd speed, the thug swings his spear, aiming right for the creature's chest. Totally calm, Fafnir takes a single step to the side, dodging the blade like it was nothing. Without backing down, the blondie activates his technique's third form, unleashing the spear's reflective flash. Surprised by the swift attack, the big monster's eyes go wide, feeling the pressure of the blow closing in. With a psycho look on his face, the attacker follows up with the technique's second form, launching a concentrated piercing strike. Outside the arena, Captain Joman is impressed, noticing his subordinate's reaction time is even faster than in training. But with an insane reflex, the dragon's scaly claw shoots out right toward the weapon's deadly tip. With a solid thud, the spear comes to a dead stop, leaving Blondie in shock, with no clue what just happened. With a ridiculous amount of effort, the thug grips the weapon's handle, realizing he can't move the spear a single centimeter. Full of pity, Fafnir scoffs, saying it's pathetic to attack without even thinking about the next move. Looking the enemy dead in the eyes,
Transfixed!
as for a real battle, he'd already be a goner. Suddenly, the big
Justice
lizard
will prevail!
saying he's supposed to take it easy. In a smooth motion, the summons
Look
close
after
just lightly taps him.
Mondstadt for
The
me.
impact immediately generates a colossal wave of energy, sending the blonde on devastating. The attacker splits up blood as the sheer force of the blow pushes his will. Slowly our MC approaches, remembering how this coward
Go
clawed
on.
like a baby and got his nose broken. With a wicked smile, our hero compliments his enemy for only screaming for a second, proving he's matured a little. Consumed by hatred, the
Something
fallen
with
blondie
which to
curses the
commemorate
necromancer
this
with every
occasion.
ounce of strength he has left, giving him no time to rest. Fafnir gets into position again, ready to finish the job in the arena. Desperate, the brute swings his spear from top to bottom in a final, useless attempt to attack. Effortlessly, The monster's claw stomps
Stop
down
right
hard
there!
on the blade, pinning the weapon straight to the ground. Under the crushing weight of the summon, the gym floor simply shatters into 1,000 pieces. Caught flat-footed, Blondie's eyes widen as he loses the only line of defense he had. With a mocking laugh, the dragon points out that using the same move 2 times makes you as predictable as an open book. In the blink of an eye, a monstrous kick lands squarely on the opponent's leg. In that same instant, the knee bone shatters, making a horrifying cracking sound. In a total panic, the big guy's breath hitches as he feels the indescribable pain of the fracture. Towering over the arena, Fafnir stares down at the human trash and coldly declares that playtime is over. With a heavy hand in the air, the beast prepares to deliver the finishing blow without an ounce of mercy. Facing his certain end, the Blondie cries in terror, knowing the system won't be able to handle that hit. From the stands, Captain Joman bellows at the top of his lungs, demanding they stop the fight right now. Covered in sweat, the leader jumps into the ring to save his subordinate's life. Satisfied with the interruption, our MC thinks to himself that they took the bait way too fast. A moment later, the luminous screen beeps, confirming the end of the match with an absolute
Drop your
victory
weapons!
for our boy. Kneeling beside his injured partner, the captain tells him to hang on, promising to call for a priest immediately. With his hands in his pockets, the kid points out, bold as brass, that they already have a priest right there with them. Annoyed, the leader retorts that the healing magic of a one-star rookie will never fix broken bones. In a defiant tone, the suit asks how in the world the kid plans on fixing the damage. Straight from his inventory, our hero pulls out a red vial, announcing he's going to use a medium-grade magic potion. In a surprised tone, the MC asks if they haven't seen the news about the mass production of these incredible potions. Firm in his refusal, the captain tells the kid to get lost, stating he doesn't need any charity from the winner. Completely ignoring the hissy fit, our boy pops the glass lid and tells the guy to just take the gift without complaining. With a psycho grin, the necromancer pours the liquid, totally loving the fact that he's using his injured enemy as a living, breathing advertisement. As soon as the red elixir touches the torn skin, its absurd regenerative effect kicks in instantly. Completely in shock, the captain watches as his partner's shattered bone mends and returns to normal as if by magic. Consumed by greed, the leader is shaken to his core, realizing the priceless military power of that healing item. With his back turned, our MC pretends to walk away from the gym, letting curiosity eat the guys up from the inside. When able to stand the suspense, Joman begs to know where the kid managed to buy mass-produced medium-grade potions. With a dark, undeniable look of victory, our hero celebrates internally, knowing the fish has taken the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Eyeing his target, the kid deduces that to be the captain of the Arajeri Guild, the guy must be close to a 3-star rank. Straight to the point, our boy makes an offer he can't refuse.
Die Statue kann anscheinend richtig nervig werden. Komm schon. So weit habe ich jetzt alles. Ich kann noch was kochen. Noch ein paar Rezepte machen. Ah ne, ich habe eine Stelle, muss ich noch hin. Irgendwo hier war das? Da. Hof und da die ganzen Früchte einsammeln. Kostenlose Rohstoffe.
Proposing an official fight against the leader.
Live long, so ensuring she lives a long life is the best option. Oh, wow. What do you mean, man? The life of 5 wives? Boy, there's a lot to do. Yeah, a lot. After healing her, he's in bed, thinking this situation is ridiculous. He has to think of a plan. The original idea of how he was going to solve this life apparently went down the drain. He has 2 months until the main mission starts, and until then, he has to stay low profile, ensuring he doesn't draw anyone's attention. The initial plan was to do this for the rest of his life, not reveal his identity, and then get strong enough to kill the Demon King alone. But now he's got a problem, especially when there are 4 wives waiting for him. Irina, the magic sphere mage, our dear nun to give a healing, the princess to make him rich and millionaire, and Serena. Look at the crazy look on this last one. She was the only one who liked him, even when he killed the whole world. She still liked him. Clearly, this one doesn't have it all together in the head. She's the real danger, I'd say. Look there. Look again. Appeared in the next photo. Wow. Wait, is she already his wife? He says, one of them is my wife, who's traveling and doesn't need my immediate attention. Jesus, what a good life already came with a guy in the pocket. Besides the traveling wife, Klana, whose Princess Solar Sunrise was abandoned by the royal family at this moment and has no power to do anything against him. The biggest problems are Irina Spheres and dear Furloche of Prayer. The little Saint Furloche is a girl from the church, so he would have to do something very heretical for her to have a way to punish him. The big threat is Irina. Oh, you're wanting it. Naughty, right? Already wants to solve the biggest one. He knows she's extremely impulsive, unstoppable, and the second she sees him, he's sure she'll attack without hesitating a second. Kenya is a danger for being close, but since her sister is kind of a hostage, she won't kill him blatantly. And at this moment, what he needs most are those false villain points to get stronger. Only with enough strength will he have the ability to survive. Otherwise, he'll get hit by Irina's fireball. Oh, what a bad situation. The problem is there's a limit to how many points he can earn just with Kenya. According to the system, the more malicious and risky his actions are, the more points he gains. Using what he knows from his past life, the prophecy, and the book, he can roughly understand the path he needs to follow. He'll have to get organized because tomorrow the real battle begins when he enters the Magic Academy. It looks like the sun is already rising. He slept sitting there, not leaving the room. He says now that he's made his plans, it's time to wake up that cursed one. He picks her up, throws her on the floor, gets ready, and scolds her, asking how long she's going to stay lying in his room. She wakes up. Hey, what's going on? She goes to the corner, covering herself, thinking he did something wrong. He tells her to get up quickly. Today is the first day at the academy, and he needs her to prepare the carriage. Kenya, not knowing much about what happened, just decides to leave and closes the door. Frey opens the system and sees that, unfortunately, he still only has 100 points. He'll need much more than that to start buying skills or items. Looking at Kenya from afar, he says that, unfortunately, he'll have to keep earning as much as possible while avoiding death. It's going to be quite an exciting life at the academy. Now we're in the wide halls and everyone is having fun. Wow, everyone's pampering our boy, saying he's the freshman representative this year, representing the biggest family in the duchy. Oh, he's going to be so spoiled. And Frey is taking advantage of it. Yes, I have an amazing family. I'm very handsome and my talent is unmatched. However, he knows the reason this bunch of vultures won't leave him alone. 2 guys as handsome as Lord Frontera say, hey, Lord Frey, we have some products we wanted to sell at the Royal Palace, right? Everyone will like them. If needed, there are also some girls who are quite interesting. Frey thanks them and says he'll decide after seeing their true sincerity, while thinking that these bastards only care about money and women. Yeah, right, 5 wives. The kid is eating, saying he doesn't just want to kill the Demon King, he also wants to end this corrupt nobility. However, the easiest way to earn points is to play this role. Another 10 points for the fake villain were earned. Then he hears a commotion outside, someone shouting, "Let me go." Another telling her to come quietly, and then a guy brings a redhead, telling Frey to take a look. Oh, look, Irina of the Spheres was captured. At this moment, she's a bit weaker, but Frey knows her specialty is fire magic, though she can still use other elements. She's what they call a little genius. Even though she's weak, theoretically, this bunch of random guys shouldn't stand a chance. Or maybe she wanted to be captured to be brought there. Already in shock, Frey doesn't waste a second, opens the system, sees a protection there for 70 points, and buys it. At least the points he earned with Kenya yesterday will be useful for something, and now he's face to face with Irina. However, he notices something strange. Irina's mana status was 0. He finds it odd. Why doesn't a genius like Irina have mana? Maybe she's planning to save it all and blow him up at once. What's going on? Irina is shouting, telling the dirty bastards to let her go. However, Irina at the academy tells the vulgar woman to shut her mouth. Wow. Frey tells the guy to get out of here now. The fool is there, not understanding. The protagonist throws the cup on the floor, tells the bastards to disappear, that he's going to have fun with the women. Oh, boy. The kid even scared the villains, and the guy left. Wow, I'm out of here. Frey came with malice, devilish smile, grabs her face and says they're going to have fun in a really nice place. She responds that he's disgusting. If she knew he was like this, she would have hit him with supreme magic instead of the demon army. He, however, what are you talking about? First, I'm going to have to teach you to shut that arrogant mouth of yours. The protagonist is going in with a full hand while she cries, saying she was caught before midnight. But when she looks to the side, he's on the floor, passed out. Her friend gets up, says it looks like he's too drunk and says it's their chance to escape. The door opens, and the two are running, with Irina saying this guy is a bastard, seeing common people as slaves. Frey realizes the plan worked. He could only risk pretending to faint because he bought that emergency barrier. And thanks to the cruel axe, he earns another 10 villain points. Wow, only 10 points? Being a villain here is demanding. Huh, what will he have to do? Kill the whole world, marry, then blow himself up with the demon queen? Apparently. Oh, wait, the emergency was fully used at midnight. The target was Irina Filiardi, and she would receive the Midnight Curse. This curse can be used once a year and leaves the target in a state of mana exhaustion for a year. Well, I didn't quite understand, but I imagine we'll understand soon. Meanwhile, Kanya is arriving, sees him on the floor all twisted, gives a fake hiccup, pretending to be drunk. She helps him up, and the rascal is playing with her face and giving kisses on the cheek. Wow, she even carried him on her back, while he says if she were always this obedient, it would be perfect. While being carried, Frey thinks he's being seen as some kind of clown, but whatever. The important thing for him is to earn points and increase his vitality. But then, Kanya says he's still filthy. If it weren't for her sister, she would kill him right there and then. Frey felt a shock, remembered all the happy and joyful moments they spent together. He took care of her, and she took care of him. Now, on the other hand, she tells him to wait. The day she ensures her sister's safety will be the day he won't survive. Wow, we arrive at the dormitory. He tells her to leave because he wants to rest. She, however, says she's going to sleep there with him. Oh, what a bad situation, guys. He says she must be joking, because she responds that the Duke ordered her to keep an eye on him 100% of the time. If she's expelled from the room, she'll be expelled from the academy, and it's over. Frey is a bit shocked. He knows there are only 3 ways for the game to be considered game over: being expelled from the academy, or being prohibited from attending classes, the death of any of the heroines, or him dying at a time that isn't the final battle. And the problem is if he expels Kanya and she's expelled from the academy, everything's ruined because he won't be able to earn points, which could lead to his expulsion later, and then it's over. How will he manage to earn villain points? Having to live in this place, protecting them with his life while being the enemy of all. However, unfortunately, complaining won't change anything. The next day, the sun rises, the young girl wakes the villain, but he doesn't want to get up. She says it's okay then and leaves the room, saying they'll talk later. He tells her to wait there, then starts coughing. Oh my, coughing blood. Apparently, he spent too much vitality yesterday. Oh, when she was carrying him, he was giving vitality to her. I thought it was the other way around. She asks if he's okay. He says yes, not to worry. But the boy has a pool of blood in his hand. To distract himself, he gets up and asks when he gave her permission to go ahead. Grabs the pen there, rascal, and says she's just like this pen. Can this thing move on its own? Throws it away, saying no, if she has any complaints, it's best to speak up. Right, somewhere no one can see. I want to bless you, just the 2 of us. Oh boy, how does the guy resist, right? Obviously, he resists because the system warns that someone wants to kill the boy. He thinks this girl is more obvious than he imagined, and then he turns, no, I don't want it, thanks. She stays there, wait, B, but you know my blessing can't be bought with money. He leaves saying, bye, I don't want your blessing. She stays there crying, making drama, apologizing, saying he's cruel, but he doesn't care. Bye, bastard, get out. We're already outside. The teacher saying today will be combat training. Grab the big sword. Wow, why is the right one bigger than the left? I don't know, right? But she tells everyone to take a step forward. Fair and honest exchange, everyone watching. Iseret takes a look, makes a cut, and apparently, I don't know what happened. Is it magic? Just passed, teleported, the guy dropped the sword, she says he's useless and calls the next one. Throws the big sword at the other's neck too, and says it's useless for him to try to use a fireball at a time like this. He was another pathetic one, and she calls for the next one once again. Then it's Kenya's turn. She gets up in anger there. Iseret asks if she's ready. The wife responds yes. Then she goes forward to give the sword strike, but she starts a conjuration of a magic, raised a shield, defended another, The protagonist is impressed. Kania is the type that always avoids any fight since she'll zero her own mana. The bastard, however, should stop because there's a limit to how much he can share his vitality remotely. Honest exchange continues. While Frey thinks that's enough, why was Kania going so far? The two are having fun, while he's the one suffering there, having all his energy drained. Iseret says the girl is exceeding her expectations, but she won't last that long. But then, absolute cinema. Let's stop here, teacher. I was born with a little problem of unstable mana, and I can't fight anymore because I'm out of energy. It's over. Iseret backs off saying it's okay. She was being cautious, but really the girl has good potential. Frey celebrates. The poor guy thought he was going to faint there from lack of vitality. And then, the teacher calls for the next one, Boy, and the protagonist is putting on a devil's pendant, saying he needs to be well prepared because this was an unmissable opportunity to earn a lot of points. Next scene, Irina tries a conjuration, but apparently fails and falls unconscious like an idiot. Oh, poor thing, still under the curse. Dear Princess Furlosh says she's next, but she doesn't want to participate. The teacher asks why, and she, oh Teacher Chan, I can't use my power against good people. Iseret says she understands, but that will be a big disadvantage. But it's time for the last person. The devilish one gets up and comes to the arena, all in that aura formation and little sword on his back, lazy. And already says, hey, big sister is pretending to be a teacher who cares about students' fun. Iseret responds asking too, is pretending to be a noble fun for you? You better come right against me, because I'm going to end that polluted mind of yours. Boy, the protagonist went indeed, in a second, already face to face, blushed. Frey has an extremely expensive pendant, but says this here is paying the price. He tells her not to be surprised by this level, because he's just starting and threw him back. Rascal filled the sword with aura. I don't know what position this is, right? Looks more like dancing than fighting, but went for the teacher again, who can't handle the whip on the shoulder and legs. The students around are like, wow boy, the teacher is being beaten, and she's there trying to resist another attack, but then her sword is thrown up and stayed frozen in the freeze frame. The protagonist passed, and the thing sticks in the ground. Then, Furloch, from afar, says he's wearing a pendant that's exuding demon aura. The teacher asks if this is true, and Furloch, annoying as hell, is already coming to take a look. She uses her sacred magic there. The pendant starts screaming and agonizing. The good little nobles around are like, oh, the Duke's son is using dark magic, this boy is evil. While the half-villain crowd is like, wow, the Duke's son is the badass. The guy is spending a fortune just to humiliate the teacher. With that, another 2,000 villain points were earned. Seems like the thing, like humiliating in a way that everyone sees. The protagonist realized this, right? The problem at school, for everyone to know, is the way. And Iseret, however, calls for Frey and says they're going to have a little talk between the two. We've already moved to her room, with her saying that bringing magical artifacts is illegal, so what does he think he's doing? Frey gives that sigh, it was just a little item, like nothing much. Iseret finds it strange and wants to know what happened. He wasn't like this before. Then he sees that in the window it says she's angry, disappointed, regretful, with sympathy, and he realizes that even with what he did, she's still worried about him. But unfortunately, he can't back down. Then he says, I had to adapt. In this current society, appealing to emotions is useless, and living honestly is something only idiots do. She gets up saying it's okay. Since it's the first time he's acting like this, she'll let it slide. Frey responds, as expected from Big Sister, but that thing was really expensive. So, I ended up losing. She says he can be compensated, but he'll have to take her to the store where he bought this item. She's going to destroy everything in that place. Frey says he's in the mood to visit the store anyway. There's a lot for him to buy. Because Iseret responds that she's not going there to buy anything, that he's already leaving, saying they'll see each other tomorrow. While thinking that magical tool was very worth it, alone, nearly 2,000 points for the boy. Iseret stays there, not understanding, wondering why Frey changed so much. We're back in the room, with Kania saying hi to our boy, holding the kitten, while he says he forgot she's always there. He asks, right, what's that? She says it's a teddy bear, made by her sister Katia. It was a cute one. Frey turns around saying that it's insignificant, and he's actually thinking it's quite cute. He wishes her good night to go to sleep, but in the middle of the night, he wakes up to see that she is really falling asleep. He gets up to give her vitality so she can survive the next day. However, what he didn't expect was that the little cat was watching everything. The kitty is staring as Frey approaches to put his hand on her, wondering if she's really asleep. Earlier, we saw that Kania found it strange that Frey was constantly coughing up blood. She's always keeping an eye on him during the day and hasn't noticed anything suspicious. That's why she created this little creature, because she's sure there's something suspicious he's doing at night. I don't know if it's a camera or if she's maintaining consciousness inside the creature, but it seems like she's seeing everything. The protagonist lifts her shirt and now wants to know what this pervert is doing. Didn't he say he was exhausted from the fight, so why is he doing this? Oh, she swears that when she wakes up and regains her body, this bastard is going to die. However,
Stop right there!
confused about why he just Besides, they seem to be in pain. She decides she must be doing something. She's going to keep an eye on him to see his true intention. Then he falls back. Phew, that's it, enough. And she finds it strange. Wait, was that really all? Then the protagonist approaches the teddy bear, which is there, sweating nervously. She wonders if he noticed and started pretending, but it should be impossible. Not even the saint could detect this level of dark magic. However, the protagonist picks up the teddy bear and says it's too cute, starts petting it, and she's there, puzzled. He falls onto the bed, rubbing his stomach, having fun. Then, he pokes the stomach, and the little creature lets out a meow. The protagonist finds it amazing. Such a cute kitty, even meows when you pet it. Apparently, he spent the whole night playing with it. The next day arrives. He gets up from the bed and sees Kenya on the floor with a stomachache, saying her stomach hurts. He tells her to go to the bathroom quickly, and she runs off. In this, he gains 200 points of misunderstanding and is, obviously, confused again. However, at that moment, the system says that due to the accumulation of evil points, he went from beginner to intermediate. And with that, finally, the little shop was unlocked. He's curious, so much to buy. But in the middle of this, another notification: Hero's soul, failure, reduction of vitality points, and lifespan. Instantly, his expression changes. First, I have to go to that auction to get a certain item. Since I already have the proposal with Iseret, it's the perfect chance. Then, someone is at the door calling for him, and he tells Kenya to open it. She tells the teacher to come in, who wants to know, right? What are you doing here? Kenya. She replies that she received permission to share a room with the young master since she is the servant. The teacher is shocked and enters startled, saying, Frey, how can you share a room like this with someone of the opposite sex? He says, oh teacher, you're really a virgin, huh? You need to experience life soon, or you'll miss the chance to get married. The poor thing is stuck in the system. Kenya tries to explain that nothing happened, but it's too late. Another 100 points for the brave one. The protagonist is already hugging the teacher now, telling her to snap out of it because they have a lot to do. With that, we're in the city, with her asking, Frey, is this really the store? He tells her to shut up and follow along. Wow, harsh. Man. We follow through alleys and corridors and streets until Iseret stops and asks, what place is this? Frey realizes she doesn't know the district of joy and poverty. Everyone knows about the Empire's corruption, but few have gone there to see what really happens. Then Iseret tells him to guide her to the store quickly because after she solves this problem, she's going to clean up this entire area. However, he says, hold on, Iseret, we're right in front of the store. This is the place. She says it's fine and tells him to stay there, that she's going to finish this quickly. Frey scratches his head, thinking she really hasn't changed. Looking to the side, the chaos happening, he knows all this is preparation for the main quest, so it's good she doesn't cause more trouble than necessary. Then, the blonde next to him is being captured by some thugs who say the master will be pleased with today's capture, telling the wretch to stay quiet, that he just came for a quick look. At the end of the corridor, he sees what seems to be the succubus's plan. The circle on the ground was the awakening of the Demon King, and to accumulate enough energy, they were going to sacrifice the people there. At that moment, the succubus appears, asking why he's acting like this, and obviously orders everyone to capture this bastard alive. Frey, knowing he can't be seen doing good deeds, already puts on the mask and, wow, for the first time, we're going to see him fight, right? He draws the sword and cuts 4 necks. The girl is already in shock, wanting to know who he is. Another one slashed. He gives her a stare while she trembles, telling him not to come closer. What do you want? Who passed the information? Do you want a night of joy? My God, he doesn't care about anything. Take this stab. She asks why he refused, because he replies that he doesn't make deals with people like her. The body falls to the ground. Trying to seduce the boy who has 5 wives wasn't a good idea. With that, the protagonist is telling the rat eaters that it was nothing much. However, they all thank him and leave, saying he's the hero. The system then says the sudden mission was successfully completed, and he can choose the reward. While he's thinking about what to choose, one of the rat eaters comes over wanting to know, right, how he knew everyone was trapped there. Her name is Gran, and her attribute is pure. Frey, very kind, sees that this is the child he saved earlier who was being taken away before. He decides he's going to give her a reward because if he trains her with this potential, she might have a great chance to change the world. With that, he gives her a ring, saying it's a lucky charm. She wants to know, right, why she's getting this? Because he says it's an investment in the country. The girl thanks him but wants to know his name so she can repay him one day. He says she doesn't need to worry about that. Everything he's doing is the work of a hero. With that, he says goodbye, saying, hey, you have good magical talent, you know, my girl. Go study magic. She stands there a bit confused while putting on the ring, but she closes her hands and thanks the hero, saying she's sure one day she'll be able to repay this kindness. The story goes that at that moment, Frey had no idea that this event would bring unimaginable change. Yeah, he messed up. Everything completely destroyed. He finds Isoret, who wants to know where he was. The protagonist is in shock. Man, he got distracted for a second, and she wiped out everyone there. He then apologizes and says he went to the Information Guild to gather information. That's it. And it seems that today there's going to be an auction for a certain magical artifact. Isoret, startled, immediately tells him to say the location so they can get it. He, however, explains that unfortunately, it seems there's a magical barrier, and you can't enter without a ticket. She wants to know how they're going to solve this, and he seems to say he has a certain solution. With that, she's clinging to the boy, wanting to know if that's the only way to enter. He says he warned her. To enter, you need a ticket, and since she doesn't have one, she'll enter as the boy's lover. Already in the chair, he thinks it's good he brought her since she's a great bodyguard. Oh, but there's someone right next to him. Huh, I don't know. The protagonist, however, oh, exactly, right? He notices something. He comments about the artifact. Isoret wants to know where, but the protagonist sees the damn Kanya there. Before he can say anything, there's a blonde coming to sit down. And the so-called Klana, right? Who I think is the solar sunrise there. Who is the princess of the family, I think. I don't know. In front of him is also the damn Furloche. Dear Nan, my god. He's surrounded. The protagonist is even hiding, wanting to know, wow, why is everyone here? Are they after the same item? Trying to control me with that to dominate everything. Right at that moment, the auctioneer says he has something incredible to present. This is a mysterious stone, an item with a power that no one can understand, not even with advanced analyses. With that, Frey decides there's no reason to think. Securing this item was the main priority. This was the Stone of Domination, an item that can suppress a target and manipulate their mind. And this was essential to finish the first scenario. The auction will start at 1 gold coin, and the protagonist doesn't hesitate, already throwing 15 on the table, saying he won't let anyone take it. And it's a shame because in the world, money is everything. And it's good they don't underestimate the financial power of the strongest family in this empire. The auctioneer asks, does anyone offer more? And the princess, of course, bids 20. Man, another person already bids 10,000, the dear nun. But apparently, she wrote it wrong. She meant to do 1,000 and added another 0. Oh, poor thing, really mentally challenged. The protagonist notices, but unfortunately, he can't let this pass at all and bids 11,000. Someone bids 12,000, but man, a guy there adjusting his mustache. Frey finds it strange. Who is this guy who's so interested in the stone? He decides to bid 13,000, and the guy goes up to 20,000. Frey bids 22, and the guy goes to 30,000, 45,000, 50,000. The auctioneer is even panting, wanting to know if anyone will break this offer. 55,000 falls, and the protagonist says he was reaching his limit, more or less, securely when needed. However, he's feeling a It's Kenya next to him, wanting to know how many years of her salary is 55,000 gold coins. The protagonist is a bit scared, and suddenly she stands up, throwing a circle up. Then he notices that Kenya was silent from the beginning because her plan was always to steal. Frey is already running while everyone is saying to stay calm, that they're going to investigate what's happening. Frey, however, realizes this was the worst that could happen. He has to secure this item at any cost. However, when his hand is almost reaching, a fiery foot hits him in the mouth and throws him against the wall. The girl says he shouldn't even be here, so who is he? It's better for him to introduce himself while he still can. The protagonist, however, tells her to take a look down. She says she won't fall for that, but he says it's better to do it quickly. And then she sees that the skirt, that she used with the fire attack there, was burning and rising. Kenya crouches down, a bit shy, and then Furloche says he must be working for the Demon King to be such a pervert. She creates a shield that seems to hit the protagonist squarely. She's all there, a bit embarrassed and confident, until she sees the boy. Frey thinks, as always, she has strength, but loses control by getting too excited. The two are there in position, saying he will have to accept the punishment of the sun god and that if he underestimates her, he will be killed there. When someone suddenly passes like a bullet between the two, they fall to their knees, embarrassed, and even the protagonist is wondering who this weirdo is. Man, the two apparently fainted. The guy goes to the face, pulls the mask, and says it's a pretty interesting place to meet Frey round. This one is a guy named Eukarya, who has the ability of transformation and mind control, with the attribute of a trickster. Good stuff, isn't he? Who says he put them to sleep because they were being noisy? Eukarya is the great demon king, and Frey wants to know what this guy is doing here. The protagonist bows there, saluting, almost wanting to know. Oh, would you by any chance know Eukarya? The guy just ignores and says, apparently, you're here to get the Stone of Domination. The protagonist, not knowing how to disguise, the Stone of Domination? What's that? Is it good? I don't know about that. Eukarya says it's the item that can increase his power, and now Frey knows about that item in the past life. I think Eucharius is saying that with that, not even the Demon King could ignore him. Or rather, don't think he's pretending. I don't know. But the protagonist, apparently, wants to know who these two are fighting, because Eucharius says he brainwashed the swordsman when he tried to attack. And he scratches his mustache, saying he's eager to see how much stronger he'll get when he gets that stone. Wow. Frey starts drawing his sword and says he's relieved. Then, that at this moment, he's so weak and slashes. Wow. Saying he thought the trash would at least be at the level of the Demon Lord. Now I see Kania being beaten. Wow, man, you're going to have to save her, but then you'll lose points, won't you? She's there with her eyes closed, and then those red droplets fall. My God, Frey, I thought you were going to come and kill him, not tanking, man. Me, but he's a complete idiot. He tanked, spat blood, hugged, he's all open. Wow, he was opened by the big sword. Kania asks if he's okay, but he just grabs the sword there and stands up. She wants to know who he is, right? Apparently, you can't recognize with this extremely wide mask, covering the entire face of the boy. Oh, Frey sees that he killed the cursed Eucharius, but the girl is still under mind control. How is he going to defeat her with the power he currently has? He made all this drama just to stare her down and land a blow that knocked her sword into the air, and it seems like she snapped back to reality and fell to the ground. Frey thinks that should be enough to clear the mind control. Now, he needs to hurry and get out of there, and he's already on his way out. Of course, Kania wants to know who he is, but the boy disappears like a bullet. We're already in another part of the city, running, with a bunch of people around. He dies there. Everything he's done so far will he needed to hold on until he at least reached the students' dormitory. I didn't quite understand the rush, but the girls are waking up, all groggy, not understanding what happened. Meanwhile, Klana feels a little nudge on her foot and is startled to see the details. Kania is more interested in knowing exactly who that person was. She recognizes the princess next to her and asks what she's doing there. Wow, these girls don't waste time. Klana immediately says, if you're at this auction too, it means you have memories of your past life. So just tell me if you're an ally or an enemy of Frey. The other girl doesn't hesitate for a second and says, enemy. Klana smiles, saying it's perfect that she answered so quickly. The other girl is all excited in the background. Then she asks, do you want to join the Frey Extermination Alliance? Kania is a bit confused, and Klana explains, we meet occasionally to discuss how to kill that filthy guy. She says to a man, and turns to Frey, demanding to know what the hell happened. How she conjured that magic like that, and while they're arguing, Kania is analyzing. She seems to reach some other conclusions. I don't know. The scene shifts to later at night, with the protagonist in his room, taking off his mask and feeling exhausted, realizing that if the cursed Demon King hadn't been weakened, he would have. Oh, it's not the real Demon King. It's a minion controlled by the Demon King, right? I thought it was too easy too. Luckily for Frey, he managed to keep his face hidden in the end. The door opens, and Kania enters, startling him. She immediately asks, young master, where have you been all day? Huh, he replies. Oh, I was tired, as I told you, and went to some shop with my sister. Now, don't ask me anything because I don't owe you an explanation. He's already lying down while she says she's sure she saw someone very similar to him in the alleys, wearing a certain mask and holding a familiar sword. Frey realizes things have gotten complicated, but she can't prove it, so he'll just keep denying it. He covers himself, saying, how many swords do you think exist in this world? For God's sake. Kania says she understands, but then he drops a star-shaped brooch. He tells her to return it and leave, until she mentions it's strange because she found it at the auction event. He fled in such a hurry that he didn't notice he dropped it. Well, my friend, there's no way around it now, right? Hiding will be difficult. He throws the thing away, saying it was found there and doesn't belong to him. He goes back under the blanket, realizing it's going to be hard to hide now. What is he going to say to get out of this situation? Oh boy, before he can make an excuse, things take a turn. It seems the tables have turned, my friend, and Kania says it's for him to keep denying it. The sword, the brooch, and this wound. All of these are more than solid proof that the masked man was him, so we better explain why he helped him. Oh no, when she says this, a penalty activates, and his heart starts to hurt. The villain's path was affected, and his vitality was drastically reduced. Wow, the boy had a fit and coughed up a liter of blood. Kania asks what happened, but it's too late. He's out of breath. He grabs the blanket, saying this is ridiculous. Today was full of unexpected events. Kania is worried. She didn't want to kill him, but oh dear, her little heart is shaken. Sometime later, she's wondering if this is right. If she had just left him there in bed, he would have died. But she also doesn't want him to die like this. First, she needs to know why he helped her. After that, then she might kill him herself, once she has the answers she wants. But at this moment, she's gathering power in her hand, and I think transferring vitality to him. Or not. Hold on, folks. She's trying to invade the boy's subconscious, thinking this is the perfect moment for her. She knows this while he's vulnerable. She'll know everything in his mind. However, her expression changes when she finds herself in an empty field. field. It was a completely clean subconscious. Normally, criminals and villains are consumed by deep darkness. She's there, confused, when a big-headed Frey appears, saying hi. She recognizes him as the master of this subconscious and launches an attack, grabbing his arms and legs. Calm down, girl. But she's a BDSM queen too, mounting him. Poor thing. She's there, telling herself she can't be careless just because he's a child. In this place, he is the absolute power. She activates a purple aura, saying it's a magical oath, and he better answer all questions honestly. He says he understands, asks to be released, and she breaks the chains, wanting to know why Frey helped her. The big-headed Frey responds that it's because she's important to Frey, but she bites her lip in anger, saying it doesn't make sense. How could she be important after everything he did to her? The big-headed Frey says there's a reason he even sacrificed his energy to save her. She still doesn't understand, while he says words can't really convey the message. Alright, then he'll show her the real Frey she doesn't know. Okay, so it seems like one of them will know the truth. She sees the day he first picked up the sword, how he planned to die with her, how he wanted to protect everyone but had to become the red-eyed demon. The way he swore to himself that finally, after that life, he would save everyone. And now, lastly, the sword strike he took on his back, thinking he didn't want her to die like that. And the moment she faced him, wanting to know why he saved her. Now she's holding her head, not understanding if all this was for her. Hold on, it was for you and 4 other friends. You're on the team, but you're not the whole team. And it seems she understood, right, that he's coughing up blood, almost dying, because she found out everything. Even though she showed the maximum possible hatred, he was still willing to sacrifice himself for her. What do you all think? I think I like having someone who knows because it adds another dynamic to the story, you know? Otherwise, it would just be kind of predictable, you know? I think now it's more unpredictable, and I like it. She's there crying, staring at herself, in disbelief, while the big-headed Frey tells her not to blame herself. He could handle all the hatred if it was directed only at him. Wow, he gave her a hug, everything shattered. Now she's back in the real world, tearful, all cute. Night falls, time passes, Frey wakes up all sweaty, wanting to know where he is. Now it's complicated, to be honest, because he's waking up and she's there all blushing. And she knows that the bad things he does are because he likes her, meaning, a peculiar dynamic has been created here. Hold on, you now know my true identity, don't you? I know it's complex, but I'll explain it to you since there's no reason to hide it anymore. So, it seems he's going to tell everything, right? He reveals that he has the mission to save the world, but at the same time, he has to follow a strong rule. He can explain because he's already received a punishment for her kind of knowing, right? She kind of stayed neutral. I think that's what I'm understanding here. He reveals that at this moment, he strengthens himself by doing bad things. When anyone discovers him doing any good deed, his life is reduced. Oops, well, can you help him do something bad against the girls? She's understanding now, right, why he was treating her that way. And he says yes, but she should never forgive him. No matter the reason, his actions are not justifiable. Of course, they are. Man, you're saving the world, trying to rescue the whole planet. It's justifiable? Yes, you can mistreat all of them. Akane says she knows he had unavoidable circumstances. Every night, he gave her vital force. Okay. She was suspecting why, but now it all makes sense. Frey scratches his face. In her case, it was inevitable that she would eventually find out, right? But what is she going to do? With a slap on the cheek, she says that, as always, she'll continue serving him until the day she can repay everything he did. Frey says he already imagined she would respond like that, and, as always, counts on her. I want to understand the dynamics of all this, right? But for now, the scene shifts to a little cat with a name on its paw, while Akane calls her princess, wanting to know why they're meeting in the Akane is there petting the kitty, saying it's because no spies are watching them there. And since they failed to obtain the Domination Stone, they need to find Frey's weakness and restrict his movements. Akane says she wants to tear him apart, and Furlough says this is the perfect moment. However, Princess says they can't just kill the boy, because their lives will continue after that. Akane, seeing this, realizes that in a way, she's in a good position to act as a spy, but maybe that's not enough. She can't do everything, and even if she can't carry his burden, she'll do everything she can to help him. And she'll start with the simplest thing, preparing a normal meal. Everything she likes to see the young master smile. Oh girl, wake up. The world is at stake. Do you want to make sandwiches? Wow, the instinct is strong in this one. And there we are, right the next day. The protagonist eating a little sandwich, chilling. Finally, the snack is good, right? Because it doesn't have poison, and he doesn't have to keep telling her to make it again. This little maid just flirts too. She says yes, she'll always do everything she can to give him the maximum vital force. I want one of those. Because he'll do his best, and she just asks him not to die. Sometime later, she collapses on the couch. What's going on? She lifts her shirt. Oh, hold on, folks. Vital energy transfer. A serious business here, my friend. The protagonist, as always, spitting that red stuff, and she's noticing how much it hurts his body. Wow, but now even she's there with a stomachache. Something strange, a black shock. Frey apologizes. She doesn't understand, and he explains that accidentally, star mana mixed with dark mana. She asks him to calm down, but she has to absorb it. Goes with the big hand again. Sweating, she keeps asking him to stop. Oh, then she's red. And with him saying it was faster than he imagined. My girl, why are you red if his entire arm is completely corroded? But he doesn't care. Apparently, he says it's fine. It's not the dominant arm. It's cool. She gets up, saying it's going to be hard to restore that, and he says she's too big. I'm not understanding this relationship here, but it's time for school. We're in class with Professor Iseret, who says soon we'll have some one-on-one fights, while Frey thinks my current condition is terrible, but at least I've been achieving my goals. With the points I've earned at the academy, I've acquired various skills and items. Now I just need to refocus on the main mission, a mission that has just activated. Fight and defeat Irina Feliano, Queen of Spheres. The reward is a life charger. He already imagined that the first mission would focus on Irina. He knows that in these examples, there will be some nobles who will be humiliated by her and then try a sneaky attack. But this time, the villain will change according to his choices. Whether he wins, loses, or escapes against Irina, all of this will change what happens. The system gives 3 options. Avoid the fight against Irina, blame someone else as the villain and become a shadowy figure, or fight against Irina and win to get the reward. But it's extremely difficult. Or the third, fight against Irina and lose. Frey seems to but obviously, he'll have to choose whatever prophecy makes him the villain. That's because it's easier for him to be the villain of the story than to leave it to some random person. Iseret, a lovely teacher, says that anyone lazy will be immediately disqualified. It's good for them to form pairs and prepare for the next period. The problem for Frey is that fighting against Irina would be extremely easy since she can't win. And wow, at this moment, Irina is being bombarded with people protecting her. These common girls get beaten a lot, poor thing. It's those noble brave frontier heads saying these trash here need to be humiliated for doing harm to Frey. Suddenly, the protagonist appears, saying they're pretty smart. He didn't order anyone to do this, but they're acting on their own. Brown thinks it was a compliment. Goes, wow, Frey, thank you. But why are you here? He says he was remembering that scoundrel who ran away. The blonde tells him not to worry, that her punishment will soon be over. But then, Frey comes in front of Irina and asks why she ran away. Apparently, Frey made some bold offer, translated wrong, because the brown-haired girl responds that she would never do something like that. He puts his hand on his chin and says, that's interesting. Then he says, Irina, how about this? Whoever wins the duel gets to make the other person do whatever they want. That seems fair to you, doesn't it? The brown-haired girl is trying to refuse, and the protagonist says the offer goes apparently. When Irina sees her friend in shock, she says it's okay. She accepts. The protagonist thanks her, saying it's funny how she changed her mind. For her kindness, Irina added 1,000 gold to the bet, but she should already know that the moment she loses, she'll become his slave. Wow, he pulls out a crutch and starts talking about making a death pact. She wants to know why they're going to such extremes, and he says it's because she loves breaking promises, so this is to ensure she keeps it. The brown-haired one tells Irina to stop, saying she can't beat Frey, but she insists it's fine. She'll crush him, and they make the pact. The protagonist thanks her, tears the other half, and the two join together. The chains separate and go into both their hearts. Kurapika's chain, oh my, now, it seems they're connected. Whoever breaks the pact goes straight to the grave. The blonde is there, shocked, saying, my god, Frey didn't even hesitate to make this life or death pact. Wow, girl, there was a whole tremor. Calm down. Okay, let's go. Head to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Frey turns and says that as long as the bet is on, no one should hit those two. He waves goodbye, saying he has things to resolve, thinking he's managed to stop that ridiculous noble and also set up the match against Irina. The problem is he has to lose to her, who has reduced mana, so he can take on the role of the noble who is defeated and then attacks at night. The fake villain system gives him 500 points for putting her in a life or death game. He realizes he'll have to use store skills to create the defeat. He spends 800 points to buy a level 1 mana transfer. The plan is obvious, right? Since she has no mana, he'll give her his. Now he's wondering if he should buy anything else. Knowing he'll have to lie a lot, he buys a skill that increases his persuasion power. My god, Frey Red Pill. When he buys it, he thinks he's turning into a woman. Wow, Frey said, women lie. Jesus, I didn't say anything. It's Frey. For heaven's sake, don't cancel my movie. While he's in this daze, someone else is watching him from outside. Furlosh, the weird, crazy one. She seems scared and confused about something and runs off, saying she can threaten Frey with this. I think it's the fact he said he's a woman. Who knows, right? He's a bit confused too, thinking it's nonsense, so it won't cause any problems. 3 days later, at the training field, the protagonist is in the bushes, watching Irina practice, who has no magic. She says she's fine, she just has to try hard. If she squeezes out all her energy, she'll manage to create something. Protagonist is moved, saying it's incredible to see someone trying so hard to kill him. Then, Irina starts creating a flame in her hand. 5 little fireballs appear, right? The protagonist is impressed, saying that's enough to make a fireball. She was indeed a great mage, but it's good for her to save some of it. Otherwise, she will not. She falls to the ground again, and her friend goes to help, saying it seems impossible she'll have to help Irina. She warns Frey will definitely use some dangerous artifacts. If it's not fair, we won't win, so I'll secretly help you somehow. The protagonist, watching from afar, congratulates the friend, saying dishonesty is perfect. However, Irina apologizes, saying she doesn't want to end up like that trash. She leaves, saying she'll definitely win this on her own, while Frey thinks that damn girl could accept a little help once in her life. Suddenly, a bird comes by and brings a message. When he reads it, it says something like, "I know your secret. Follow my instructions. Come to the cathedral now." Apparently, it's Furlosh's 16 IQ, right? Frey wants all the archetypes in his harem, right, dude? The lighter the hair, the dumber they seem, apparently. And here we are with him arriving at the church and her waiting there. The boy is exhausted while she's standing in the middle of the altar. She turns, surprised he actually came, and says it's funny he's been deceiving her all this time. At that moment, Frey is in shock. If she knows his identity, that he's a good person, he's screwed. He's about to faint and start spitting blood. She then says the charade ends there and pulls out a maid outfit, right? She's in that daze about him, saying he's a woman. He's a bit confused. I'm thinking she's not 16 IQ. She's 300 IQ. She's playing a game I don't even understand here. This girl is way above. She's telling him to become her maid, that she'll keep the secret, while he's kind of confused. Why was she believing this? Doesn't she have memories of the past life? I'm a bit confused. Does she or doesn't she? If she does, she should know he's the villain, not that he's a woman. Or, as I said, she's 300 IQ. I'm telling you, she's clinging on, all over him, holding the boy in peculiar ways, stroking his chest and saying if he were a woman, he should have more volume. I'm telling you, he says he's not a woman and she wants to check elsewhere. She's 300 IQ, folks. She's pretending not to know what she's doing, right? Putting her hand here, putting her hand there. Look at that, all in the dramatic act, while the protagonist wants to leave. Until she says if he had followed what she asked, he wouldn't need to be killed. Oh boy, she really advanced, grabbed his neck, and threw him to the ground. While she cries, she says Klena already knows his weakness and is about to execute him, but she wanted to save him somehow. He should have obeyed in silence. Boy, Frey is there drooling, while she says it's a shame, but he'll have to die there. Oh boy, the protagonist drooled. A while later, she let go and said now she's a criminal. She decides she'll follow him now and take her own life too, since she killed him in the church. Both would go to the afterlife, and there they would repent for their sins. But that ability the protagonist has, which defends him from a fatal blow once a day, activated, and he gets up telling her to wait. Apparently, the rascal was going to pretend he died, and now she's wanting to fight again, but Frey didn't come there for nothing. He presses a recorder on his clothes. From the moment she said Princess Klena knew his plans and would execute him. And with that, he says she was foolish to think he would come empty-handed. The saint of the church and the third princess wanting to kill the Duke's son. If this became a rumor, they'd be uncomfortable, disappointed, sad, everything and more. But for him, it was fine because in a few months, anyone connected to him would suffer. At least this way, she would be safe for a while. WoW's system gives some points already. He hit her, made her scrub. What is this? We are back in the bedroom at night. He is all happy, while Kenya asks if he was drinking. Looks like he says yes, it was unavoidable because things went really well. She finds it weird, he has nightmares, his illness is bad, and he still drinks. He tells her to stop bothering him and to lie down because he will put some life energy into her. Then he pulls that Frey line saying, I doubt it, you know it will work, it will not take long, you will get a cell of your own. Yeah, that is it. She is there, opening buttons, and then Frey suddenly says he forgot to mention that the transfer does not have to be through the stomach. Uh-oh. She says it is fine, it is not a problem. He says it might be better, maybe another spot. I am thinking, oh, okay. Looks like he is trying to escape because both of them are getting slapped in the face and then she turns around. She is really red. She just passed the energy already. There are 5 lives to take care of. He is getting healed. While he is transferring everything to her all out of breath, he asks if she happened to enter his consciousness when he passed out. She says yes and apologizes, but he says it is fine. Kenya, on the other hand, only thinks that in both his past life and this one he keeps risking himself to save her. Later on, maybe deeper into the night, she turns on the light when he is kind of stuck in a nightmare. She says that even if she cannot save him, she wants to at least ease his nightmare. She picks up the kitten and says maybe this will be enough, as long as it is not in human form it might work. The scene then shifts to the nightmare he is having where he wonders where he is. The same kitten appears meowing and he pets it. He hears a strange sound nearby, and when he turns the corner, he finds what looks like a younger version of himself handing over a potion, which seems like that for Lo's scene. She is all dirty, runny nose, big-headed, and asks why he is giving potions. He introduces himself as Frey Starlight and says she looks like someone who needs it right now. She does not want to accept it, while the protagonist is confused. This should not be the first time he met Furlosh. As far as he remembers, it should have been at the cathedral. The child Frey says it is fine for her to be suspicious, but he will leave these 2 potions here and go. If she ever needs help, she should go to that cathedral. He waves goodbye and runs away. Doesn't seem like such a bad person. Suddenly, the smoke fades away and she turns into stone. Adult Frey watching this does not look like just Furlow says some things that sound like 16 IQ, but she usually does not lie.
Weißt du,
And what he just saw
der
felt
hat
way
die
too
Fähigkeit,
real, so
Messer zu
something like
werfen,
that
aber
might
ist
have
so
actually happened.
unakkurat mit
The
seinem
problem is he has
Scheißmesser.
no idea when or how that would even be possible if his memories were manipulated. And it was what she said that kind of triggered all this. Suddenly, the kitten starts panicking, looking around, and the same fog moves in. Everything feels surrounded by red darkness, and he says he has a really bad feeling. Get this brutality out of here already.
so Bastard an Killer, diesen
Why kill
scheiß
like
Tokyo-Guru
that? Frey says he feels like he is
wie
about
aus
to
der
witness something
Anime-Serie
even more
Aim Assist,
terrifying. Oh no, please stop. I
damit
just wanted
selbst jeder
5 lives
Versager
and
seine
happiness.
Treffer
The
treffen kann.
protagonist starts falling
Aber jemand, der
into a void,
tatsächlich
saying
Projektile hat,
that
der
he
das
keeps going
bräuchte,
down
geben
this
sie
path.
keine Hilfe.
Suddenly, a voice asks how long he plans to keep sleeping. Someone tells him to wake
Was
up,
ist
but
das
he
für
wakes
eine
up in red.
schlechte Spielentscheidung?
Furlough, covered in blood, saying he finally woke up. The cursed prince asks all of this. Wait, was it really him who killed her like this in his past life? Did it have to go that far, Frey? Was it not enough to just kill? So maybe it was done to make the king leave. He's shaking, saying he does not want to see this. Then Clena appears behind him and holds him, asking if he enjoyed killing all those people. He sees blood, and then Serena and Kanya also appear, asking for help. Kanya says that just like he asked, she died for his sake, and that must have made him happy. Frey begs to be pulled into the dream where he falls into the void and gets bitten by the cat, pulling him outward. The cat is actually Kanya, who is desperately trying to pull him out of the nightmare. Even so, he keeps falling until he suddenly sinks into the sea. When he opens his eyes, he is in a calm space, completely different, and a voice says it made him angry. He does not recognize the voice, and then a woman of light appears, saying she managed to find power in his subconscious. It is his mother. She holds his face and says he will not be tormented by these nightmares. This is the last gift she can give him. Sadly, she warns him that the path ahead will be painful. Things will not go the way he wants, and when that time comes, he must remember what truly matters. He cries as she tells him to always keep in mind what he truly wants to protect. This is a lot to process. Then Kanya wakes up in a panic, sees him, and asks if he is okay. He turns to her and realizes she was the kitten, and thanks her, saying thanks to her, he feels a little more at ease. At the same time, in that dream, he met his mother, and she told him to remember what he truly wants to protect. Now, with all this memory stuff, he is starting to feel scared. If what he believes was really manipulated, then what can he actually trust? Maybe even the prophecies he has been following are completely fake. Kenya clings to him, saying that if that is the case, then you can trust her. She saw how hard he worked for everyone, even if he was manipulated and the effort was meaningless. He never stopped being someone who gave his best for others. And just like that, he remembers the perfect word, having 5 wives. Good stuff. He knows the road ahead will not be easy, but he is determined to protect everyone he cares about. This is not the time to be depressed. Even if everything disappears, his efforts will not be meaningless. Just a side note now that I noticed from the start of the story until now, the only man remains Frey. There are no other men. We will wait for the day because for now the scene shifts to test day. 3 days later, when he has to fight Serena, the magic transfer is already at level 3 to give him power, but it seems he needs some physical contact. I am already worried. At least Frey has been training a lot with Kanya, so he feels confident. The first match is Clena versus Furlosh. Friends fighting each other. Isoret warns that quitting will not be allowed this time. Furlosh says that his fine activates her aura and says she has no intention of giving up. Clena starts with a glow on her finger, preparing an explosion. Frey, watching from afar, feels like attacking him from that position should be impossible in theory. Clena fires and Furlosh punches him, sending it flying toward the protagonist, who is already expecting it. The problem is he tries to stand but cannot. Isoret steps in front and saves him. She says it better than an accident or both would be disqualified. Now Clena presses the attack, saying they need to finish this fast. Furlosh throws a punch that seems to pass through, and when Clena looks back, she unleashes a combo strike. That was weird. Did she really need to hit everything in her body? The poor girl spits white stuff and drops to all fours, completely humiliated by her friend. Isoret does not waste time and tells Irina and Frey to step forward. Kenya tells him not to push himself, and he replies that he already decided to move the race room. They reach the arena, and Isoret pulls out a massive sword. Frey asks if Irina is ready, and she says he should prepare the trash pit. Frey gets excited and says she sounds confident, which is interesting. Let us see how long that mouth lasts. He activates his aura, and she gets a fireball. Isoret asks if they are ready, raises her arm, and starts the match with Frey charging in. Irina, Queen of Fireballs, starts chanting, creating around 30 above her. She has not even launched them yet, and already closes her eyes, getting carried away, and the spells collapse. Frey rushes in thinking she was stupid for overdoing it, and now he has to stick to the original plan. He stretches out his blue mana-filled hand and slams her into the ground. He only needed one hit. Then he humiliates her, saying crawling on the ground like an insect suits you better. This should have been a total beatdown, but it is just mana transfer. Irina starts feeling confident, creates a fireball, and blasts him in the back. Frey thinks this is perfect and lets it hit him dead on. He acts like a total idiot, saying it hurts so bad that his back is burning. She jumps up quickly, conjures a massive spirit bomb-sized fireball. He thinks he might have given her more mana than he should have. She's full of rage. And somehow, even if he's trying to lose, she still cannot win. It is a miracle. Congrats to her. And Frey is confused, wondering what just happened. Isolate starts counting down while Frey thinks he should have passed out from that hit. But that makes no sense because he gave her a huge amount of magic power. The problem is he gave her almost everything, so now he cannot transfer anymore. He looks for a solution and suddenly a green light hits his face and a magic circle appears under both of them. He instantly realizes it is teleportation magic and wonders what is about to happen. Both of them vanish in front of everyone. Isori tells everyone to back away while the crowd is confused. And in the background, that 16 IQ girl wonders if the scroll she used was supposed to be a recovery one. The scene shifts to a forest with Twitch Chapel, where the two suddenly appear out of nowhere. Frey is thinking that he really believed that would be enough. He did everything possible to lose, yet she still managed to fail. It was honestly an almost unexpected disaster. And then look at this. The guy walks up all romantic like trying to steal a Sleeping Beauty kiss. At least he sees that she is not badly hurt. The problem is that this is the forest with the most monsters on the entire continent, the Grey Forest. And how is a washed-up hero like him and a mage with no magic power to survive here? At least he already knows that the idiot Ariane was the one who used that scroll. What does not make sense is why she wanted to help Irina using a teleport scroll. That is something he will have to figure out later. First, he needs a plan to get out of here, but how is he supposed to do that while killing this woman? That is when he opens the system and sees the mask of deception. It hides your identity from people within a certain range, perfectly disguising your voice and appearance. Frey realizes that he finally has a way to avoid being discovered. Sometime later, Irina wakes up hearing someone ask if she's awake and telling her to get up. Of course, it is him saying they need to leave this place urgently. This area is far too dangerous, and the longer they stay, the lower their chances of surviving. Irina asks what place this even is. He tells her that she was forced out of the using a teleport scroll, but now she is safe, so she does not need to worry. Irina is terrified, saying she does not understand any of this and asking who he is. He says he will introduce himself and claims he was a former spy of the Starlight family who was abandoned in this forest. He implies that he is someone who was also punished by Frey and teleported here to die. She sighs and says it seems like Frey will not kill her before their way here. The disguised Frey adds that the real Frey probably thinks he is dead. This is really hard to even explain, but he is alive and he will help them. He knows a relatively safer area and they should go there to recover. Irina tells him to wait and starts thinking that the story makes sense, but something feels off. This guy is strangely active, pushy, and energetic. If he was really a former ally of Starlight, maybe she should refuse. And like a complete idiot, she thanks him but says she would rather go alone. She says it may not look like it, but she's capable. Sure, you are very capable. You fainted while the guy was trying to lose to you. Irina checks her mana and sees she still has about 10%, so as long as a strong creature does not appear. And immediately it wears her down. She freezes, wondering why such a strong creature is here. Her independence is about to end with one swipe that would smash her face. The protagonist slips behind it and cuts it clean in half. She stands there in disbelief and says that is exactly why he cannot let her wander alone. Before he can finish, she tells him to look behind and there is a group of goblins charging at them. You would think he would wipe them out, but instead he grabs her arm and runs. Later, in another part of the forest, they stop to rest and she asks again why there are so many high-level monsters here. He explains that this place is home to countless creatures. Then she asks if he is okay. The reason he did not kill the goblins is because he is already coughing up red. He gave all his mana to her and is still forcing himself while she notices his mask is covered in blood and bleed. She tells him he should rest or take that thing off his face. He slaps her hand away and says, "Do not touch it. I am really ugly. You will get scared when you see me." She scratches her cheek and says, "Okay, then forget it, but..." And somehow the protagonist is to go far. She introduces herself as Irina, who only ever messes things up. Here we go again. You are going to follow her right. Turns out he just wanted her to step away so he could remove the mask. He sighs and says at least she believed that ridiculous story. It probably eased her doubts, but now he needs to know what happened with Irina Request mission. When he checks the system, the battle victory status is still pending. He assumes the Academy has not declared a winner since both of them vanished during the exam. Frey Round trying to farm Aura under the moon he thinks he is. At least he knows that in their current situation, one mistake could cost both their lives. 3 days have already passed since they arrived in the forest, and survival has been rough. He's just following Irina instincts because his mom is named. At least she finds some potatoes on the ground and they manage to avoid monsters. Finally, they get close to the exit. She drops some food and she's sure Arian must be really worried. She wants to apologize to her son when she sees her. If only you knew that she is the one who sent you here. And look at the protagonist. This is not a Portal joke, but the guy hunted prey. She is amazed that he can even take down a boar in this condition. He drops it and she asks Rihanna, which must be his forest. He clearly does not want to have this talk, but she insists, saying he cannot live like this forever. He turns and says his answer will not change. He does not have much time left anyway, and if he escapes, Frey will come kill him. Irina tells him not to worry because she will help him hide and survive. He insists that he does not want to be a burden in her life. The moment he leaves, Frey will come seeking revenge on both of them, and she would not be able to protect him. Irina realizes she really cannot do anything. He says it is fine, he is used to living here, and it is not that bad. She finally accepts, and she has been his sister for 3 days, and his opinion never changes. He tells her it is fine, and she can eat some fruit while he cooks. She feels bad about abandoning the person who saved her life, and he must have his reasons. Then Frey finds an ice dragon fruit and says he used to eat these as a kid, and they are delicious. Irina asks if he really ate that as a child. This fruit actually has another name. The one who came up with ice dragon fruit was Frey himself when he was younger. Irina knows that not everyone should know that, and just as her suspicion starts, an earthquake hits. Frey immediately realizes the worst possible scenario has occurred. This place is not only home to powerful creatures, but also used as a dumping ground by the Demon King. Modified creatures, failed chimeras, experiments, all kinds of things end up here. He can handle most of them, except this one. The Black Gold, groups of high-level creatures cannot defeat. He draws his sword and says he cannot fight while protecting someone, so while he holds it off, she needs to run. But she just stands there, hesitating, and he asks why she is still there. At least the Black Golem is still dormant with energy absorption at 21%. This boss absorbs the energy of those it kills, so at this point it is not at full power yet. The real problem is that Frey cannot use Star Mana because that power belongs to the Starlight family. But then the Golem scans both of them and starts the elimination process, firing a laser. The protagonist has to save the idiot who should have already run. He's yelling for her to leave already. Of course she stays and gets in the way. He plays the mental card and tells her that only she can take revenge on Frey in this place. And it seems she already knows because she mutters something like, "It really was a misunderstanding. I saw you as a piece of trash." Frey does not get it and she tells him it is nothing and that she was just talking to herself. Then she thanks Rihanna and says she will never forget this debt, not even when she dies. Did Kenya tell her? Or how does she know? I am honestly confused, but she runs away. Frey thinks he is acting perfectly and that no one will figure out his plans. Now things finally get easy because the moment she is gone, he can use Star Mana. The Golem detects an emergency, but Frey charges first activates his mana and slices its leg, making it fall sideways. The balance system starts searching for a countermeasure, and Frey knows he sealed its movement for now. The monster activates Method B. One in a missile launcher appears, firing a barrage at him. Frey is forced again to use Star Mana and sends a flurry of slashes into the sky. The Golem stands there, looking almost sad and barely affected. Frey realizes it keeps switching attack forms non-stop. At this rate, it is only a matter of time before it becomes fatal, so he needs to destroy the core fast. The target data updates and Frey is recognized as a class 1 target. Self-destruction activates instantly. I thought the mad thing would retreat, but instead, Frey charges in, saying if he does not stop, this arena will also be in danger. He jumps and drives his blade in upside down, landing a direct hit straight into the core. Energy explodes and the entire forest is swept away. The Golem energy runs out and so does Frey energy. The mask falls. Please, Irina, do not show up now. You will kill the boy. He sees a crow flying overhead and knows it is a reconnaissance creature. With that much noise, it was inevitable. It would be strange if no one came to investigate. The problem is Irina cannot find out or his identity will be exposed. He has to leave no matter what, but when he tries to stand, a breeze hits and his body gives out. Under the moonlight, someone saves him. When he opens his eyes, he sees Kenya looking beautiful as always. She tells him not to worry and that she handled everything. She even prepared a carriage nearby to take him back to the dorm without drawing attention. He tries to say he is counting on her but passes out. Later in the dorm, he wakes up and she asks if he is okay. Actually, this is 2 days later. He says he was just a little tired but needs to know what the current situation is. She explains that investigators found Arian used a scroll to teleport him. It was supposed to be a recovery scroll, but the effect was completely different. Arian claims it was an accident and people believe her. If her testimony is confirmed, it will be treated as unintentional. Frey knows a coincidence like that would not just happen. He thinks someone sold her a fake scroll. He asks Kenya to investigate who sold it when she says someone is already on it. She says it was found in a village and returned her to the academy. Frey feels relieved since at least he secured the Kenya says it was officially decided that he is the winner. Sadly for Frey, things would have been easier if he lost. Now the main quest moved to route 1 fight Arena during the exam and win. He will receive the recovery scroll. He probably wanted villain points more so he could take revenge later, or maybe he just wanted revenge for the sake of being cruel. Villain logic is hard to understand. He thanks Kania, and she says she has one more piece of news. They found him so quickly thanks to the Duke. Frey asks what the Duke was doing there. She explains that he heard about the incident, went to the magic tower, learned about the scroll, went to the forest, and passed out from stress. The great Duke of the strongest family fainting from stress is wild. Retire already. Frey puts on a dramatic act, hugging Kania and acting sad, but something feels off. The Starlight family of legendary swordsmen fainting from stress is ridiculous. Later, the sun rises and a new day begins. Frey wakes up, puts on his coat, and gets ready to head out. But before leaving, he meets a red-haired girl. He mocks her, saying he heard she was saved and that she really is a loser. She kneels awkwardly. He jokes about her oily knees. Since she was declared the loser, she now owes absolute obedience. All she asks is that he helps free Ariane. Frey starts thinking she came on her own after the incident to negotiate. He tells Kania to prepare the carriage. Then he asks Arena why he should help her friend since she is now his slave. She says she will do anything he wants. He says they should finish what they started that day. She says she does not mind. He turns away and says if she accepts so easily, it is no fun. That is one of the worst things he could say. He gains some villain points, and for extra farming, he orders her to clean the entire room perfectly. Only then will he think about her friend. He slams the door, leaving her there trembling. Outside, Kania asks about the request, and he says they will talk on the way while looking the horse. He says the fairy asked him to free Ariane. He scoffs, saying he does not work for her, but he will use this to get what he wants. She will have to beg or buy him somehow. He asks Kania how she is doing and if the dark magic in the forest hurt her. She says she is fine and it was not a great power. Frey tells her she is the only one who supports him and the only one who brings him happiness in this terrible world. This incident made him realize he needs her strength more than he thought. She blushes and says, "Of course, my master, my life belongs to you." He calms her and says he just wants her help and that they should take it slow. If something like fainting, losing consciousness, or teleporting happens again, he needs her help. And this item in his inventory along with her sister will be very useful. The scene shifts to the mansion and look at the paper father collapse from stress, the great night. Amazing, it totally makes sense. The protagonist looks at him like, "Dad, you are trash. Probably the weakest of all the powerful families I have ever seen in manhwas." Then the door opens and Kania shows up saying, "Wow, you really went all in on your father." That is it then, goodbye. I am leaving and I will just leave this old man passed out on the bed. He will not help me get 5 wives anyway. But wait, before that, I need to talk to your little sister. Hold on, this kid is dangerous. One moment he says he only likes women when they reject him, and the next he wants to talk to her little sister. Kania says she put her to sleep because she would get angry if she saw Frey's face. The protagonist walks in acting casual, while people complain like, "Wow, living in a massive billionaire mansion and still whining." He looks and says she really does look like Kania, so that must be her sister. Then he pulls out the 1500 point potential potion. This basically awakens a person's true talent. Unlike Kania, who exhausts herself and even sacrifices her life with dark magic, Kadia has the ability to control and suppress dark magic. She can also control the dark magic of others, and he is sure this will help her. Since she is very young, only part of her power is awakened, and this potion will unlock everything. Look at this guy, smiling like, "Great, I created another little servant to help me in this world." According to the book, the effect should happen by noon, but suddenly someone throws a snowball asking what he did to Kadia. The attack misses and hits him directly, knocking him into the wall, and there is another small girl in the corner asking if that was an aphrodisiac. "Calm down, please, it is not that serious, do not judge my boy." It is his sister Arya Frey calling him disgusting and telling him not to call her sister. She grabs him by the collar and starts yelling, saying he only thinks about indecent accidents even with their trash father passed out. Frey stares, thinking after all this time, this is what he gets when he sees her again. He endures the insults and then slaps her, sending her to the floor. He says, "Stop being ridiculous, that father collapsed on his own, he is weak. And that item is mine and I will use it however I want." He was talking about the girl, and his sister says Kadia is not his possession. He smiles and says now that father collapsed, he is the head of the Starlight family. This house Kadia, her everyone here, he can do whatever he wants. She gives up threatening and tries emotional appeal, saying, "Brother, I miss how you used to be." He calls her filthy and tells her to leave because he cannot stand her crying next to him. Only 300 villain points that could have been 500. She cries, wondering what happened to her brother, while he thinks, "Wow, I am such a cruel guy, what evil acts I am committing for the sake of everyone." Later, he lies in bed, not caring anymore. He is used to this farce, but dealing with family is still annoying. Why is he suffering so much anyway? In his past life, he slaughtered people, cut heads, sent bodies flying, and now he thinks a few insults are a big deal. At least he knows he needs to abandon this sentimental side fast because anyone who has positive relations with him in the future will be punished. Someone calls him at the door and he asks if everything went well. She says yes, the process was simple and the effect massive. Before she struggled to control dark mana, but now it feels strangely easy. Wait, was that not your sister? Do you two have a link? It turns out she is using her sister power, which also allows clone creation. Frey thinks this is perfect because he needs a way to mask his identity. He tells her that when Kanya returns, she should invade the subconscious of some dorm residents and monitor the area. He can finally focus on the main mission without worry. Irina already swore loyalty, and he has the advantage over the other two. This prevents major accidents, and the mission can finally proceed unless something happens. Then he wonders where Serena is and why she has not returned from her trip. Serena is the one who was still in love with him even after he killed her. She is insane. The scene shifts to the western part of the continent. A ninja girl asks Serena what that is. She tells her friend to read, and it looks like something about ruins. Serena wants to visit the ruins of a hero from 1,000 years ago. She says she has no time, so she took a shortcut. The letter says being chosen as a hero was hard enough, but his descendants would face even harsher fates. Frey at this time should be progressing his missions. Somehow, she has this ancestral letter and is loving it, saying she cannot wait to return and see his reaction. Back to the mansion, Frey gets into the carriage, while his sister watches from above with an angry, foolish face. Kanya waves and asks if Frey will not say goodbye to Arya. He says no meeting her will only cause more pain. The maid asks what the first mission is so she can help. He agrees and says the mission is to capture a person who will attack the novice dormitory. If he had lost the fight and become the attacker, everything would have been easier since he could blackmail people to free him later. But that plan failed, and now he does not know who the culprit will be. Kanya suggests he could still pretend to be the invader, but he explains that is not how the story works. Now that the flow changed, the attacker already exists, so they must let it happen. They need to watch the demons in those dorms. This is the perfect chance for them to infiltrate the Empire. The place is completely corrupt, and noble arrogance has pushed everyone to the edge of rebellion. Any move by the nobles now will spark revolt, and that is what they are waiting for. Kenya understands they plan to use this chaos to take over the Empire. He says yes, the prophecy states that if he fails, the Demon King will take even worse actions. Kenya says the hard part is identifying demons disguised as humans. He tells her not to worry because if they get a certain item, it will be easy. The scene shifts to an alley in the Empire. He already bought a demon detector that looks like something from Dragon Ball. He says it can detect anyone below the Demon King and his executives. Since the system already tracks high-ranked demons, this will not be an issue. She says the system helps, and he says it causes trouble, but sometimes it is useful. He asks if she started investigating Serena. Kenya says yes, she is someone, but Serena is extremely hard to track. If she wants to hide, they will not find her. Frey agrees, since she is now an heir of the Moonlight family as his wife and controls an imperial intelligence and assassination. That promotion is insane. Buy one, get four. As they talk, he notices rat eaters on the ground. They seem to be some of the children previously captured by succubi. The kids complain that the money the masked man gave was not enough and call him stupid. Another says even if they had not used it, the adults would have taken it anyway because they are weak. At that moment, the protagonist realizes that the help he gave to the rat eaters meant nothing. The plan changes and he decides to build an orphanage. Perfect. They will find out and die right away. He says he is a hero and cannot ignore the suffering. He has more money than he needs, but of course Kenya says he cannot do that. If he does, his identity will be exposed and everything is over. He then shows a pocket watch, saying it is a lifetimer he received after defeating Irina. As she can see, it only shows about 4 to 5 years left. That is painful. How can anyone enjoy life something like this? He says he needs to do everything he can to atone for his sins. Kenya starts trembling with her face red, saying it is unfair, but if that is the case, we can do everything. He says he cannot stay there because he has to go to the palace hall as his father representative. He feels calm because no one can flirt with him since he has a wife. Anyone who approaches, he can just push away. Of course, it will not be that easy. The mother says it is dangerous that Serena from the Moonlight family is joining with the Starlight boy. Planet understands that Starlight does. She grabs the and says, she will go and marry Frey. The mother says it better be so. The girl is and she says impossible. She has to marry that trash. Watch, she can handle it alone. He replies that there is not the current Emperor Lycan Solar Sunrise, who is Clan Father, uses his authority to order Frey to finalize his marriage with Serena and also marry his daughter. This is based on a vow of trust made 1,000 years ago between the first Emperor and the ancient hero. It seems every hero has been born in the Sunrise family. Kenya says it feels sudden. He agrees and wonders why they suddenly bring up a 1,000-year-old prophecy. Then girls come running, shouting they want to marry Kanye jumps in and drives them away, saying the young master already decided who he will be with and tell them. If this event stays quiet, Kanye he was wondering how to distance himself from Serena when she returns, and now it's easier. This is the There's nothing useful. She needs to check Secret Palace archives, but cannot enter without her father's permission. She needs to investigate that vow and the excuse being used to force this marriage. 1,000 years ago, when the Demon King vanished and the first emperor founded the nation, two powerful houses helped greatly. The Starlight family defeated the Demon King and gained public support. The Moonlight family handled many hidden matters behind the scenes. Both gained privileges, and since then the emperor never interfered in their decisions. These houses supported the empire and relations were good, so why now is her father forcing this? As she thinks, Frey appears, asking why his future wife looks so thoughtful. She says he must be bored to come provoke her. He tells her not to glare with that ugly face because they will live together now. She says he says she should be first hero. She throws the letter down, saying she does not care, and waves goodbye. She asks if he really thinks it is fine to be forced to marry her. He replies that what he wants does not matter. The Moonlight family does not have that much power. She thinks quietly while Frey believes someone approaches an abandoned house. Inside, Serena greets an old witch. The witch removes her hood and tells Serena to remember she is speaking to the tower. Serena laughs and says witch is a better nickname. The witch sits and tells her to speak quickly since they have no time. Serena asks her to erase her memories. The witch is intrigued and says it has been a long time since someone asked to erase their own memory. What does she want to forget? Serena says not something specific, but everything from last month. She calls her foolish, saying her body cannot handle it. Serena explains she is about to reveal the true identity of the hero and cannot move forward with these doubts. She then adds another request. She wants to spell the force's unconditional obedience. The target of that obedience is The scene shifts to the day of the event with Clara getting ready, feeling disappointed and unwilling. She hears a kitten meow and sees it, leaving behind a red book, which was clearly Kenya. Clara reads it and is shocked by what she sees. The scene goes to the protagonist walking confidently down the hall. He asks if the item was delivered successfully, and Kenya says yes. He thinks that with this, he's found the Moonlight is canceled, and the one with Clara will also be annulled. Her friend tells him not to celebrate too early before being sure. He looks to the side and says he is sure everything is fine. When he sees the blonde girl, he knows that he can reject her. Kanye says that now the only thing left is dealing with an empress. He thinks it will not be difficult. Then another girl shows up playing with her hair, asking if she can have a moment with Frey. He remembers her as the crazy girl who humiliated Irina. He tells her to just say it already. She says she feels so sorry for him. He asks why. She says it is sad that he has to marry the most ill-mannered daughter of the royal family. She may be a princess, but she is worse than many rural nobles. The only decent thing she has is a bit of her looks. She says she truly pities dear Frey. If he married her instead, Count daughter, he could gain all the she might matter later. Frey does not care and saying she's just frustrated. Kanye agrees, saying nothing she does can change fate. Frey then excuses himself, saying it is time for his meeting. He hands over the glass and walks past Clanna, who stares intensely like she is gripping the cup with her tongue. The scene shifts to a room where a servant says, Her Majesty will arrive soon. Frey says the room looks like a child room and shows all these teddy bears. The servant says, since now no one can stand in this room. Frey says that is a wonderful way to see it, but asks if the Moonlight family will not attack Frey says he letter saying it is a donation in exchange for royal status. He offers 6 million if she is included. He says if there is no issue, she can sign. She reads and asks about the clause, saying Frey Rayon cannot be arrested for any crime except treason. He says he will work hard, kill enemies, and collect resources, so some protection is necessary. She says he is very cautious. He stands saying it is an honor to join the family. She points out the clause, China cannot oppose it anymore. He leaves and closes the door. Outside, he thinks this nation is doomed. Its leaders are blinded by greed, and the plan worked. This lets him act as a villain longer. Outside, Planet says everything is good. He says she was just a lying and admit his selfish desires. She says he should wake up because things will not go as he expects. She walks past him confidently while he looks back calmly. He found a way to avoid the marriage and everything is going as planned. Now he just needs to watch the chaos unfold. Later, everyone is gathered and Frey checks the message. Even the Emperor sealed the document, so it is officially royal. He says this is the perfect chance, so no one suspects he is pretending to be a villain. Kanya asks where Serena is. He says she should have received the invitation, so it is strange. If she did not come, the Moonlight family probably refused. He thinks something is wrong. The Serena he knew always acted fast, but now she is Kanya agrees and says they must stay alert. Suddenly, someone shouts to the arrival of the She calls Frey Rayon. The Empress asks her to accept the princess. She asks her if she accepts. Kanya bites her lip in anger and He looks bored and uninterested. Clannis says she discovered she has the right to refuse, and that is why she stays there. The Emperor says the Since Clannis refused, the marriage is invalid. He asks Frey what he will do. Frey smiles and shouts that he cannot accept it either. How could he accept something that breaks a heart? Unreturned love is the greatest pain. If the princess cannot be happy, what can he do? It is time to say goodbye. The Emperor laughs, saying Frey is generous and that this outcome helps everyone. He apologizes to everyone who came to watch the wedding and says it is unfortunate, but at least the party will continue. The princess suddenly snaps and starts yelling insults. Frey tells her to calm down and suggests they talk about the contract that failed. He says she will have to return his 6 million and that should be canceled too. Frey walks away thinking she should have read the contract properly and finally managed to remove that cursed wife from his life. Humiliated like that in public. She says if he wants, she knows a very obedient blonde girl. He raises his hand and flicks his finger at her. He should have just walked away. She starts yelling, asking how he dares humiliate her. He does not care and tells her to disappear and never speak to him again. He keeps walking while she keeps cursing. He thinks she believes. He sees Candy. Serious and talk to her, he will be killed. Next chapter, someone holds a necklace. No one will discover the identity. It looks exactly similar to the one the Empress was. The Demon Queen appears, saying she is interested in the hero. The scene shifts to the courtyard where Frey moves beautiful and saying Frey asks what she wants since they are no longer engaged. She steps closer and says she only threatened him because she knew he would ignore her otherwise. She waves a fan and says she knows what strangers now. She does not know why she She explains that everything from her trip over the last month was graceful and using magic. He asked who would do such a thing, and she says she asked for it herself. She asked the head of the magic tower and also requested a spell of absolute obedience that binds her to Frey. She reveals everything without hesitation. Frey is confused and asks why she would do that. She says she does not know, maybe to help him somehow. If she decided to erase her memories and bind herself, it must be because she had to forget something about him or something she saw in the ruins. Frey immediately realizes she must have seen the hero ruins where identities, penalties, and she somehow did. She discovered who he really is and erased her memories, so he would not suffer penalties. He thinks she truly is a genius. Serena smiles, picking a flower and says she obviously does not want to remember again. Frey sighs and says he understands the situation, but asks why she wants to help if they have no bond anymore. She answers simply that she will help because she loves him. She says goodbye, saying she knows he is trash. She still likes him and tells him to call her later. Frey thinks none of this makes sense, and that he clearly lost something here. Still, with Serena's support, he now has access to an intelligence network. Combined with his legal immunity, this should make the first mission easy. The scene shifts to the old woman from the Magic Tower walking through the street complaining that she is being overwhelmed. She thinks of that cursed girl who is not her apprentice. Suddenly, someone offers her bread. She tells the child to go away, saying she is busy. It is the little girl Frey saved who asks if she really has no time to eat. The old woman says that as the head of the Magic Tower, she has no time for anything. The girl looks impressed and asks why she came here. The old woman says she sensed strong magical energy in this area and came to investigate. She tosses a coin to the girl, who asks if she can help with something and says she can use magic. The old woman dismisses her, saying lying is bad. Then the girl opens a magic circle in her hand and energy expands. The old woman is shocked, realizing the magic she sensed came from this child. She activates teleportation and takes her to a forest. She asks her name and the girl says Glare. The old woman says from now on, Glare is her apprentice. The scene shifts to what looks like the Demon Queen castle. She says she is tired of being trapped because of that cursed penalty. The crow asks what is wrong, and she says it is time to move. The novice dormitory will be attacked, and during the chaos, they will infiltrate with the Demon King army. The crow says he will gather suitable people. She tells him to find humans consumed by hatred, envy, anger, greed, and other negative emotions, since they are more receptive to dark magic and control. She also tells him to bring something else we do not see. The scene moves to the dormitory the next day. Frey is making plans and says he needs strength for what is coming. Kanya asks if the important part is the attack or what happens after. He says what comes after does not matter since he has legal immunity and Serena help. Kanya says they still need to search, but asks what if they cannot find them. He says it will be easy because the demon detector is a special item. Even if they hide and stay quiet, it will work. Only the system could bypass it, but since he is the hero, that is not an issue. Kanya says the item seems impossible to fool. He tells her not to worry. Suddenly, the door opens and the purple-haired woman appears. Kanya immediately tells her to leave and not enter without permission. The shameless woman says she enters whenever she wants in her husband's room. She walks around observing everything while Kanya insists they were never engaged and that it never happened. Frey puts his hand on his face and says he already told her he will call her when something is needed. Serena stops and says there is something more interesting he needs to know. She asks what Kanya is doing there. Kanya answers that she serves the Starlight family. Serena asks if she is planning to harm Frey, and Kanya says she would never do that. Serena analyzes her expression and says that judging by body reaction and pupils, she is not lying. It seems she can trust the maid. Frey thanks her for the help. Serena then says that since she is here, he has an order for her. She must never be certain about anything related to him. She says she understands and it is clear the order worked through magic. Frey believes this will prevent any penalties from activating. On the fake villain path, punishment only triggers when someone has absolute certainty, just like when Kanya learned everything before. He hands Serena a map of the commoner dormitory along with the demon detector and tells her he needs the Moonlight family intelligence team watching that place. Serena says she understands but asks why he is acting like this since it seems positive. He tells her not to ask and that it is an order, and she only needs to obey. The command works again, and he tells her to report anything suspicious she finds. She says she understands and heads for the door, saying she will see him later, and adds that she loves him. Frey looks awkward, and Kanya says Serena is always unpredictable. Frey agrees and says now he just needs patience. Sometime later, the ninja girls are running everywhere at full speed. One reports to Serena that all people are in position, watching the area, and so far there is no unusual reaction. They also place demon specialists, so it is only a matter of time before the culprit is found. Trio. Serena asks what is wrong and Frey tells them to stay quiet. Furloche says she does not know exactly what it is, but she feels a malicious presence. Irina agrees something feels wrong and they need to help the people inside. Frey understands why Irina is here since this is her dormitory, but he wonders why Kleina and Furloche are also here. It seems the three form a bond without him knowing, which makes things more unpredictable. Serena asks for an explanation, saying she cannot help if she does not understand what is happening. Frey tells Kanya to cast a spell to block the area
Motherfucker. Nope.
Yeah.
Cool, kein Problem. Ich kann warten.
Delta werde ich quer durch London gejagt, muss ein Mädchen beschützen und einen Profikiller kalt machen. Ein ganz normaler Donnerstag also. Deine Mission ist viel leichter. Kinoticket holen und mir bei der Arbeit zuschauen. Shelter am 26. März im Kino. Spielzeiten und den Trailer.
Das Warhammer-Hobby ist ein Tor in eine Welt voller Fantasie und Kreativität. Entspanne dich beim Bauen und Bemalen detaillierter Warhammer-Miniaturen, bevor du sie in Tabletop-Schlachten einsetzt. Entdecke eine Vielzahl verschiedener Fraktionen und riesige Fantasy-Welten mit fesselnden Erzählungen. Besuche start-warhammer.com/de und vergiss deinen Stress. Die Menschheit in der fernen Zukunft zu verteidigen war noch nie so entspannt.
Also, ich werde was zu essen. Ich bin jetzt aber noch eine gute Pause.
no one approaches. Kanya gets annoyed and casts it herself, saying it is easy, and now he better explain. Frey explains the plan. He will find the attacker, immobilize them, and use the domination stone to control their mind. Then he will reveal himself as the mastermind and receive the mission reward. It will cause chaos, but he has legal immunity and enough money to cover it. He does not need to explain anything to Serena since he can just give orders. He tells Serena he will enter the dormitory to find the source of the magic, and she should not think too much and just help him. She says she understands. They move through the barrier and the corridors are flooded in red light. Suddenly, someone tells him to look behind. A massive dark worm appears. He expected mind-controlled humans instead. Frey reaches for his sword, but Serena steps in. She knocks the creature away and forces others to flee. She pulls out her fan and releases a purple galactic flash that slices through its neck and defeats it instantly. Frey is stunned because he did not even have to act. He then notices strange red mana and sees a pentagram drawn on the floor. Kanya calls him from another area. He goes there and sees many people unconscious. It seems everyone was affected by a sleep spell. He asks Kanya to enter their subconscious. She casts a spell, but something blocks her. This is strange because no one should surpass her in subconscious magic. Not even Furlosh or a Demon King army member could do this. There is only one being capable of this, the Demon Queen herself. Kanya is surprised and Frey confirms that normally not even her high-ranking subordinates could do this. The question is why she would involve herself in an attack on a random dormitory. Frey decides not to overthink it. First, they must resolve the situation. Serena appears again, looking exhausted. Then the hardworking girl shows up, always running around, saying she checked the area and something feels wrong. There are tons of monsters moving back and forth, but there are no random incidents. It clearly looks like they are being controlled by someone, and that someone is the attacker Frey finishes. She agrees and reminds him about the graffiti from earlier. The same marks are on the floor of the first, second, and third levels. The whole dormitory is probably inside one massive Frey already knows the demon lord is involved. A giant magic circle like this is clearly a sacrifice spell. He remembers something like this from the prophecy and cannot recall the details. It is probably connected to that circle meant to drain children, just like what the succubus did before. The sacrifice circle needs a final activation point where the effect happens, and that should be on the top floor. The culprit will be there and he has to destroy both. Then there she is, the jealous blonde, completely unhinged arm, raised eyes glowing. Crow watches, saying she was the perfect target. The stronger the negative emotions, the faster the circle completes. At this pace, everything will finish in 1 hour. Frey appears, draws his sword, and asks if she really made Isabel the chosen target. Looks like it, and he does not hesitate. He fires a burst of starlight. She is unharmed, and he realizes it was not enough. The crow laughs, saying it is funny to fly fought like they were. Even if he arrived mid-plan, nothing would change. Isabel attacks, but Serena arrives in perfect timing and unleashes a sequence that disrupts the spell. Kanya steps in as well and both tell Frey not to worry and he will handle it. He only needs to deal with the crow, and he thanks them. The two girls move with confidence while Isabel conjures with her spells. Frey draws his aura blade as explosions erupt behind him and demands the crow explain who he is and why he is here. The crow gets angry because too many people showed up. Still, it says that is fine since it believes to control one more mind. Frey smiles and says they will see who wins today. He pulls out the stone and says he is certain of victory. The crow gets suspicious, wondering what that stone even is. Then it feels its consciousness slipping away and falls from the ceiling like trash. Frey thinks it was strangely disappointing. Isabel is already on the ground as well, completely knocked out. Kanya celebrates, saying it was not that hard and they did not even have to go rough on the girl. At least it ended quickly, and now they just need to deal with the magic circle. Then someone suddenly asks what he is doing there. He turns around and sees the familiar trio, again now joined by more girls. Klana accuses him immediately. Irina is certain, saying, it is obvious. Furlough starts praying for strength to punish the sinner. Frey realizes the plan was way too smooth, so something had to go wrong. Klana demands Serena and Kanya explain what they are doing there. Kanya panics and says she sensed something strange in the dormitory and came to check, and then they ran into them. She joins the others and even tells Frey off. Now things get worse because Serena says Frey is not a bad person. He was helping find...
Quiet.
First creature charges forward, but Furlough smashes it in the face. Or almost.
Quiet. Fucking train. Alter. Ej, faktycznie będzie. Dobra, to takie. Ah, komisch, ne? Und dann verkacken sie direkt. No, no, that's not good. Okay. Come on. Gib mal nach oben, da ist eine Antwort.
Since the girls are already surrounded on all sides. Clanna says they have to attack Frey because Kenya says they cannot kill the one who cast this, or the monsters might stay out of control forever, so they have to break the magic and the circle. The blonde agrees with the plan, but Irina says she is not into it. Magic circles at this level are extremely delicate, and one mistake could ruin everything. Clanna says she understands and the protagonist reflects it with his blade. They face each other as she comes in to throw her. She gets pushed back. He feels the pressure and realizes they are He is the only one who knows how to disarm it safely. It would be even better if they stopped getting so close. Once again, he is forced to defend against an attack, and he is surprised. The angle is perfect, the speed, the strength, something is wrong. Turns out it was Serena who attacked, and while he praised her, he also said she should be even stronger. She says she does not know all the details, but she would follow her. He knows most of the monsters are already dead. Furloach asks for time to prepare a spell while Irina stays in the back watching everything looking exhausted. The protagonist keeps smiling, confident the plan will work until he suddenly collapses, coughs up blood, and falls to the ground. His body starts giving out at this crucial moment and they move closer. Furloach warns them to be careful, saying he's just pretending, so they lower their guard. Clanna raises the light pistol, saying it is fine at this distance, she cannot miss. Frey says he will have to take the risk, use all the remaining magic to break the circle and stay bedridden for a few days. At least Kanya should be able to handle the rest. He laughs at the blonde and says it is funny that she thinks she's faster than him. Mana starts expanding through the room. The guy stands up with wild swagger stars and demon energy exploding everywhere. He has completely lost it, saying that now everyone there will become offerings to the demon lord. The girls scream, telling Frey to stop, while he says it is already too late. An explosion tears through the room, smoke rises, and everyone watches, and when it clears, he's lying there unconscious. Furloach notices the circle looks broken and is fading away. Serena kneels and says it really looks like the magic lost control and failed. Kanya relaxes, realizing what he did, and says she will handle the rest. She approaches the protagonist and says he seems to have passed out from mind control, and now is the time to capture him. Furloach says they almost died, while Clanna celebrates that at least the bastard was captured. He really is the enemy. What they do not understand is why it failed. While everyone is confused, Irina stays in the back with her hand clenched, clearly realizing something. The girls are all talking about how Frey used his power and how none of this makes sense, while Kanya keeps insisting they need to take the boy to the hospital before he dies. Serena, on the other hand, is crying and holding him. What is going on? Why is everyone suddenly freaking out? The girls are all panicking, saying they noticed something. Noticed what? Tell me. Next chapter, Irina remembers Rihanna and says his tone always sounded rushed. He never showed his face and she thought it was because of an illness. But he also knew about the ice dragon fruit, which was something only she and Frey should know. For a brief moment, she wondered if Frey really was Rihanna. She quickly dropped that thought because that bastard of all people would never help her. But now she is wondering why. While watching Frey fight, she noticed how much he resembled that man. On top of that, the strange mana he was releasing kept weakening the magic circle every time it touched it. When the explosion happened, she covered her eyes and saw him fall, while the girls stood there shocked and moved closer. While they were talking about why this happened, Irina was just watching. That explosion happened because Frey mana expanded through the room and countered the mana of the magic circle. In the middle of the panic, no one noticed, but she clearly saw the circle being erased by his mana. She is sure the circle did not fail on its own and that Frey stopped it to save everyone there. But why would that disgusting bastard do something like that for everyone? And if that is true, then is he Rihanna? And why did Rihanna want to save her? And why does he want to hide his identity so badly? Her thoughts are interrupted by Serena screaming no while holding Frey, who is bleeding from multiple wounds. Now Irina is the one in shock, trying to understand what is happening to the boy. The scene shifts to the Demon Lord Castle. The tall woman wonders where everyone is and says it is funny how the crows stopped responding. She also received a notification that the mission failed, so it seems she lost. She is basically fighting the system one-on-one. Main mission: attack the dormitory. Use the noble students to attack the dormitory and activate the sacrificial circle. She says it looks like she still cannot leave the castle, but that is fine since this was just a warm-up. Still, she is already bored. How long does she have to stay trapped in this place? She wants to know who this entity is that told her to prioritize system commands and kill the hero. Being the only one trapped there is extremely unfair. You really resemble Irina. Careful, demon girl. She wants to leave and at least send subordinates to start destroying the world, but the system says she still cannot leave or act directly. This system was supposed to help, but instead, it keeps giving orders she does not want to follow and piling restrictions on her. The system replies, saying sorry and that penalties exist, but the abilities would recover anyway, so it will release one. Duplicate skill released. Your consciousness will transfer to a copy, allowing you to act outside your body. She smiles and says she never liked one-sided fights. The only weakness of the copy is that it can only use 10% of her power per day. She says that is way too little, and the system responds that unlike her, the hero has no idea he is fighting the Demon King, so that makes it unfair. She says fine, then even if it is not her full power, it will be enough. With that, the sixth wife enters the game. The bitch arrives, ready to destroy every chance the boy has, saying it is time to end the victory he has. Meanwhile, we see the protagonist witnessing everything as he falls into the illusion limbo. His consciousness starts to fade, and suddenly, he falls into a forest. The nightmares are coming back. He scratches his head saying something. He was in the dormitory just now, so why is he in this forest? He remembers this is similar to when he was with Furloach. The dormitory was probably not erased completely. All he wants is to not go through another terrifying nightmare. He hears something behind him, and when he approaches, it is Frey calling for his mother. He remembers that when he was very young, he hid in the forest. Where is his mother? Because there is a huge monster ahead. A werewolf is hunting him, while the protagonist says he does not remember being attacked by this creature in the past. At this rate, the child would die and the beast jumps to strike. He thought it would be some kind of future Frey saving past Frey, but instead, someone throws a fireball straight into the monster chest. The beast runs away burned, and Irina appears, saying she found him. What is he doing in a place like this? He awkwardly tries to hug her in thanks, but she pushes him away and tells him not to get the wrong idea. He is not her friend or anything, since she hates all nobles. Watching this, Frey realizes this is the moment he first met Irina, but he wonders why he does not remember it happening like this. In his memories, he met her when she was working as a bounty hunter. He remembers going through his mother. Maybe this is an like it is going to explode, but it is clear that it's interfering with his memories. Rita tells him the two walk ahead while Rita She checks the map and suddenly says, wait, something is wrong. You said 3 hours, but this rescue request is for 2 days ago. He asks if she said something and she brushes it off. Another inconsistency appears. What I find strange is that he does not know why he was hiding there in the first place. He was playing hide and seek with his mother. Right then, they both hear a werewolf. The boy starts shaking in fear, and she says even if the whole pack was out, she would wipe them out. In the real world, that would not happen. She talked all that big game. Beast right in front of her. The monster with the creature mutters something like fight. Looks from the shape of the body, it is obvious she reverts and turns into a Irina gets up and wipes her face and wonders how Frey can have that much power. If he was this strong, why would he not? He just rolls his eyes and asks, watching from the background, the headache feels something is wrong. There is no way his mana back then should have worked on a creature like that. Figures he will see what things look like outside, which must be total chaos. The scene shifts to the academy in Clan Room. Further, she is back She says they That alone is enough for many people to believe. That gives them a perfect chance to destroy.
Hmm.
Power catches his eye and he says maybe she can enter. The little demon girl is already inside seeing black holes unconscious. She wants to enter that creature consciousness to discover the identity of the real hero. She sees all the images of Frey sending power everywhere. She gets excited saying she needs to get out from here. Power, saying now that she knows the target, she just needs to destroy him completely. 3 months later, Frey is still She is always by his side, so she should know something. Kyle looks down and says sadly she has no idea either. Serena tells her to stop pretending and asks if they are going to have to fight, saying she will start using her methods. Suddenly, maid Irina appears. Frey wakes up because she can't be more. Serena tells her to come back here because they are doing something. Irina explains she has a death habit because she is not. Obviously, she's only there to listen. The two change their mind and decide to talk outside. Just my imagination. Her belly looks more visible. But since it was a large-scale accident involving the King, rumors spread everywhere that it could not be fully suppressed. The Imperial family releases contract tried to bury everything out of the tower. They could not avoid all consequences. Because of that, he was forced to help with preparations for the Sun God Orphanage Festival. During this time, he would be under Furlough's supervision. But as it falls to him, he can actually help with the event, so he drags his feet as much as possible. He knows she is the supervisor, but she never leaves his side. He starts to feel excessive. He turns to her and asks her so that he always says and she's a older woman, so she should go help someone else. She answers that stopping him from doing evil in this world is very important because it would be far worse otherwise. He replies that attacking him like this after he was unconscious for 3 months is the worst thing she could do. She suddenly tells him to explain what happened in the basement. He looks confused and asks what she is talking about. Then she abruptly changes the subject and says to forget it. She already knows he is involved with the Demon King anyway. He is completely confused and tells her to forget everything she just said. While Frey is still puzzled about why she mentioned the Order basement, a system message appears. Important event, a terrible conspiracy is spreading in the basement of the Sun God Order. Investigate the conspiracy with Furlough and destroy the evil plan. If successful, you will receive the Awakened Hero weapon. Frey panics, saying this mission never existed in the prophecy book. What terrifies him most is the condition written below. If he fails, Furlough dies. That changes everything. He has no choice. 4 wives is not 5, and his dream is very specific. Furlough crosses her arms and says she knows he has information, so he should talk already. He rubs his face and says if she wants answers, they need to see it with their own eyes. While they talk, someone in a hood quietly watches them. The scene shifts to the church basement. As they walk, Furlough says she did not even know this place existed. He says it looks abandoned, but asks how a holy woman like her did not know about it. She explains she once tried to investigate and sensed a strange aura coming from here. When she tried to look deeper, she was stopped. They told her they were storing illegal items, and that explained the aura, so she was not allowed to interfere. Frey realizes the guards might be gone because of the festival, or maybe there is something more to it. Furlough thinks this is the perfect chance to expose the Demon King conspiracy. Frey finds it strange, so she shows him he is an ally. He suddenly notices a strange stone tablet form in front of him, saying in the beginning that the gods of the sun, the moon, and the stars. Under the protection of these 3 gods, the world reached balance and prosperity. Frey finds it strange that ancient script from his world exists here, and also the mention of 3 gods is unfamiliar. He never saw anything like this before. Furlough holds her face and says she has seen that script before. There are stone tablets